Hey, what's up, guys? We're late and gay, but we have made it. Had some technical issues, and we are trying to get everything squared up for this interview that I did with Kat Smith, who is a local resident in East Palestine, Ohio. Um,
That was me.
we
That was
before
me.
we do
I'm
that,
sorry.
yeah, I got you.
You got to remember,
Um,
I'm a Gen Xer with Boomer tendencies, so I mean, it happens every so often.
before we get into this interview, guys, we and this is Cat Smith and Ohio resident approved. The good old Pete Buttigieg homage shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Wait a
Yes, we
minute.
love
Wait a
Nice.
minute.
Anchorman and we love Mayor Pete. And this is the general feel for all those residents in East Palestine, Ohio right now. They are not happy. They feel pretty left out, and you will hear all about it in this interview. Before we get started, guys, how you doing?
I'm good.
Great.
I'm real good. I'm happy to be back on the draw, and you know, um, this has been one of those issues that just you want to face palm yourself, starting at your forehead, just all the way right down your mouth, and go, how can every level of government screw up this one the way they have? It's just infuriating. It just there's it's almost beyond words for how stupid this is
hmm
on
Yeah,
so many
and
levels.
for this shirt, before we switch over, all the profits from each sale of this shirt are going to go to the residents. I want to make sure that every penny of it gets up to them and goes to people who actually need it because, as you'll hear, these they need some help. Crash, how you doing before we get started?
Good. Been driving all day, but I'm home.
Yeah.
It was a fun
Hey, what's up, Rob?
vacation.
All right. Well, front porch, I'm gonna let you take it over with this, and you guys can pause where you want, and we'll discuss things. Take it away because you're in for a ride, to say the least.
Yeah. Front
Yeah,
porch
so
and I, this is first we've heard this, so this will be live reaction.
yeah, so at any point, fellas, if you need me to stop it, just kind of give me the yell at me or whatever. So we're gonna take this from the top in three, two, and one.
Hey, Kat. This is Cam, and I take it you are the owner of Cat's Crystal.
I am.
Sweet. Well, I guess not sweet because from what I hear, you guys are dealing with quite a bit of crap. Um, so this is like I am. Well, I wouldn't say I'm unprofessional, but it's very informal. So
Okay.
I don't know if you've had to hold back on other interviews that you said you've done.
Occasionally, yes. I've been doing, unbeknownst to me, a lot of Fox News.
Oh,
Can't really unload the way I want to.
well,
So yeah, it's been interesting.
well, by all means, feel absolutely free to unload with whatever you like with me. Um, all right. And do you mind if I use this uh, interview for my podcast tonight?
No, that's totally fine.
Okay, cool. And
Cam, I'm just curious about one thing. How did you two get connected with each other?
You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hang
No,
on.
not you.
Oh,
Cam's muted.
oh, there we go.
Uh, I literally just did a little uh, phone sleuthing and called a bunch
Okay.
of businesses and messaged people from groups in Facebook on there and got in touch with her.
Okay. All right. Just curious. All right. I'll start it back up now.
I will. I'll send you a link if you want to check it out later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, well, again, my name is Cam, and my podcast is called Flagrant Triggers, and I work with some other YouTube influencers, a couple of comedians, and recently made friends with someone who used to anchor for RT America. She also anchored for CBS, NBC, and ABC, I believe. And she may be doing her own documentary for this.
Oh yeah, we've had a couple documentary crews come through town already. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you've been over it probably several times at this point, but I've got to ask, how did all of this start for you guys?
Okay, so you just want like kind of the rundown of
Yeah. So like from day one, like how did you become aware of what was going on, and what happened to alert you guys?
Okay. So the night of the 3rd, so the day that the derailment happened, I was in my office. And my office is in the front of the house, so it's closest to the railroad tracks. And I had the window cracked a little bit, and I was just unwinding, doing some business work. And I heard a really loud boom, and it kind of shook the window a bit. And I could kind of tell where the direction was coming from. And I was like, oh my gosh, one of my really good friends lives in that direction. So I immediately messaged her and I'm like, did you just hear something? Because, we have a lot of semis that come through, and sometimes they do really dumb stuff and hit telephone poles or things like that. So that was kind of my thought initially, was that one of the semis got in an accident. So I messaged her and she was like, yes, it shook the house. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, I'm going to send my husband down to see if he can see anything, right? So my husband walks down to the end of the road, and he had noticed like what looked like smoke, kind of. He comes running back and he was like, I think the train derailed. And he grabs my son and they get in the car and they go down what is Taggart Street, right? So it's the one that it's like the one that goes straight to PA that the accident happened on. And he takes a video while he's there that have gone around of the actual derailment. It was still a very small fire. The police had just gotten on scene trying to direct traffic a bit, and the fire trucks had not arrived yet. So he goes through there, takes the video, comes back, and he's like, one of the trains is on fire, and it looks like it derailed. We didn't know what had happened yet.
Hey, pause real quick.
The concern was,
Hey, Cam, if you get a chance, maybe message her. See if you can get that video that her husband took.
Yeah, she sent me
The next-
everything. I'll send it to
Okay.
Front Porch. That way he can pull it up as we're listening.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, how I've seen it on a map, but I'm not exactly sure.
Hi, Farron.
Good evening, Miss Farron. How close is East Palestine to the Pennsylvania border? I know that they're like, I mean, if you look at it on it, they're like right there. Because she just said the road that takes you to Pennsylvania. So I'm thinking, is it one of these things where like you cross one side of town and you're there, or just? I mean, I'm just curious.
It is not that.
Oh, she's in the chat, by the way. It looks like she's in the chat. Yeah.
Yep, she is in the chat. Let's see.
Less than half a mile.
Yeah,
from
it
the
is
border.
literally right at the border. Like
Wow.
that town probably, part of that town probably runs into Pennsylvania.
Okay. She says it's less than a half a mile from the derailment. Oh, wow.
And guys, Kat Kaja is the person that you're listening to on this interview. This is Kat Smith, and she's the person I talked to earlier. And you will hear some stuff, and if you're not mad or sad by the end of this, then you might be a something's psychopath. Wrong. Yeah. So you
don't have a soul.
Might have some issues.
Yeah. Okay. We ready to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
the train was so long that it was still parked all the way through town, and all you could see was tankers the entire length of the town. So we didn't know what was in those tankers, obviously, but the concern was that if they didn't get those out of there, if part of that train was on fire and it exploded, would it cause a chain reaction through the entire town?
Right.
So
And
that was a bit concerning.
and how? So you said you're actually in the evacuation zone, right?
We are, yes.
And how far is it from your business/house to where the train derailed?
So the business is actually right on the 1 mile line, and my house is about 2 blocks closer.
Okay.
So it is
What, pretty darn close.
it's pretty darn close, yeah. So my husband is obviously concerned. For some reason, I wasn't hitting like panic mode at that juncture, right? Because he was trying to be calm about it, and I was like, okay, well, a train derailed, and we hear all the sirens and stuff, and I'm like, well, there's so many firemen coming. It's not going to be a big deal. I didn't realize at the time that the tankers were still all through town.
Right.
So for me, I was like, okay, well, it's, half a mile down the road. It's not really that big of a deal. It's not going to reach us. They're not going to let it reach us. At the time, our only concern was fire, right? There was no mention of toxins. There was no mention of anything. It was literally just fire. And I'm sorry, I've got chemical bronchitis from this. So this is actually the best I've been in weeks.
Okay, yeah,
but
we'll definitely touch on that here in a little bit for sure.
But anyway, so I was like, you're kind of panicking for nothing, because there's no way the fire trucks are going to let it get to us. There's so much space, between there. The fire's not going to take over the town. So I wasn't really concerned. And he basically stayed outside because he was kind of monitoring, you know what I mean? Him and a few of the neighbors were outside, kind of just, BSing and chatting outside. And
at that point, could you smell anything, or was it just
No, at that point, it had only been burning for about 20 minutes or so. And it had not reached us yet. The wind was blowing away from us. We are on the west side of town. So it was blowing away from us. We hadn't really started smelling anything yet. And within 20 to 30 minutes, the town was full of firemen and first responders. And I was like, okay, great, no big deal. So my husband comes back in, because I was back in my office, and I was getting pictures from my friends that live much closer to the derailment. The fire looked like it was getting bigger, and I'm like, well, that's not good, because we were concerned about the gas station, the leak, gas station, because I was like, if those blow, then we might be in trouble,
Right.
So yeah, so we were concerned, still not concerned about toxins or anything, but it was starting to get a little more worrisome when several of my friends have the what do you call it, the emergency, the things you can listen to the emergency call out.
Yeah, the scanners.
Yeah, police scanners and stuff. A couple of my good friends have that, and they keep messaging me this is bad. They're calling people from all over. It sounds like it's out of control. And I was like, well, that's not very good. Well, about 10 minutes after that, my husband comes in, and he was like, we need to, he's like, I'm not trying to freak you out, but we maybe should pack a bag just in case.
Ooh.
And I'm like, in case of what? There's no way the fire's going to get, he was like, you need to come outside and you need to see what's happening. So from my
Hey, pause it real quick. I just want to give some context of what
looks like.
Hang on.
And I have pictures.
Got it.
local news, WKBN, reported on Saturday that it was not on fire.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw that out there. And I don't know, like if she gets to that maybe they put it out for it managed to actually put it out before Saturday, and then maybe it became more of a risk by Monday, which is when they decided to nuke the thing. But
From what I understand, the fire never stopped.
okay, because I did read
Hey,
one report that
unless
said that firefighters were fighting it the entire weekend.
Mhm. Well,
but the local news was specifically said, I have that clip bookmarked somewhere, where WKBN was saying it is not on fire, and that was on Saturday.
Front Porch, do you want to pull up that video that I sent you?
Yeah, hang on. I think I can do it. Give me just a second here.
I'll pull up the WKBN clip.
Hang on.
Kat would probably know better than anyone if the fire was actually put out or not during that time.
It was like a 38-second.
Yep.
Okay, hang on. I'm working on it. All right, let's try this again. Let me see if I can enlarge this. There we go.
Yeah, I just maxed it.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that was that night.
Holy cow.
And that thing is absolutely rip roaring.
So the derailment happens, the fire starts immediately because between the heat from the axles and everything else, boom, up it goes. And this thing just doesn't quit until, is it still burning? How long did it burn?
Yeah, she said, she just now said it was never out all the way until after the controlled burn.
Okay. Okay. I was going to say, fellas, I mean, Kat's here. Do we want to play the whole interview, or do we want to let her on the stream and talk if she's got the capability?
I'll leave it up to her, because she said she wasn't sure if she'd really be able to hop on for anything consistent tonight. Kat, you're welcome to hop on if you want, if you know how. But as far as I know, it was just going to be the audio interview, and she said she wanted to check it out and she was going to share it.
Okay,
but yes, she is more than welcome to come on if she'd like to.
Okay, all right, yeah. And she said in her comment that video we just saw was within 10 minutes of the derailment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the video that her husband took, I believe.
I've got the clip from WKBN.
All right, let's we'll look at that real quick.
We're carrying a chemical called vinyl chloride. It's a very dangerous chemical if ingested or breathed in. Officials tell us the vinyl chloride is not on fire. Again, it's not on fire. One of the cars is slowly leaking pressure, which is what it is supposed to do to prevent an explosion. But as we've been telling you through previous coverage, the situation is still unstable.
So, I mean, the rest of this clip goes into where they interviewed that one hazmat tech from town who said,
First news reporter Desiree Gosling.
he gets interviewed later. He's the one who says that that they basically nuked the town to get the railways open.
Jesus.
But yeah, like the date on this clip. Now, I mean, I don't know if it was from Friday night but the date on the upload I think was Saturday. Yes, Saturday, February 4th. So they were reporting that it was not on fire, but we obviously have evidence contrary.
Holy cow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's this, like I said, the beginning of this interview is the only cheerful part.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, check your Twitter DMs.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
All right, we can go back to the interview. I
Okay.
just wanted to show that one part.
Okay. All right. Fellas, if you'll share my screen.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine. And starting back up right about.
Pictures of it, but the pictures don't really seem to give it justice of like what we were actually experiencing that night. You know, kind of it feels like watered down, but it looks like 30 feet in the air above the closest building, just flames. The whole sky looked like it was on fire. I've never seen anything like it. I was like, this looks like a full-out wildfire. I was like, okay, yeah, you might be right, you know. And at that point, we had started smelling the what we thought were just flames. Now we know was actual fumes from some of these toxins. But
the flames were from the fumes from the toxins. Is that what you're saying?
The smell that we could smell.
Okay.
Likely
we later
phosgene
learned that's what it was.
gas.
But at the time, we were being told it was just the smell of like, you know, burning train car,
Yeah.
which you don't know what that is. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what that smells like. So, so we were told, you know, it's fine, but like, just to be safe, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, then we start getting notifications from our neighbors that live closer to the derailment. The cops just told us we need to leave. They're telling us that we need to leave our house, yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, well that's probably because you're close. You know, I'm not worried about it. We did pack a couple things, you know, like iPads and phone chargers and stuff. You know, weren't thinking like no clothes because we're not gonna be gone long. You know, it's just kind of like maybe just head out of town for a little while or something. You know, so we weren't prepared at all. Mm-hmm. So we keep getting these reports that they're evacuating closer and closer and closer to us. And finally, like one block away from us, so like not even a full block, but like the street over from us, essentially, one of my neighbors' parents lives on that road, and they said that they were just evacuated. And I said, okay, I guess we need to go. And before we had even packed into the car, we got almost simultaneously an all call from my son's high school telling us that we needed to evacuate, and a text message from, I guess, like the emergency line in town. Mm-hmm. So like a police department emergency call type situation, text message saying that we needed to evacuate. And I was like, okay, I guess we're gone. So it had said a 1 mile radius, and social media was starting to post like 1 mile radius maps, right? So we were clearly in it. So my neighbor, her parents live about a mile farther, close to the high school. So away from the derailment. So we evacuated to there, and stayed up all night just watching the news. None of us slept. None of us did anything. We just sat there slightly in horror going, what's happening? Like, what is going on? You know, this is the wildest thing ever.
Yeah, because, well, to your knowledge, all you know is that a train derailed and there was a fire.
Right, correct. There was no mention of toxins, no mention of any other danger. No one had said anything of the sort. We thought that we were evacuated out of an abundance of caution due to possible flammable liquids on the train exploding. Mm-hmm. Is the only information that we had gotten.
And this was hours after the derailment.
Correct. I think we left at probably after, I want to say it was around 10:30 or so. It was late at night. It was late. It could have been as late as 11. Mm-hmm. because the derailment happened a little after 9.
Yeah.
So it could have been as late as 11. But anyway, we spent the whole night just sitting in like shock on my neighbor's parents' couch, watching the news, watching social media, just kind of sitting there like going, what the heck is happening? Well, there had still been no mention of toxins, chemicals, dangers of any sort that way. We thought that we were still just evacuated due to the fire. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, the mayor, the fire chief, everybody had another one of those meetings, you know, the televised emergency meetings. Mm-hmm. And it said, we are getting the fire under control. We believe the danger has passed. We'll update you later. So after an entire night of sitting on the couch, we take that as good news and decide to come back home.
And
because
still nothing about the
still nothing of any sort of dangers, strictly fire danger. We decide to come back home.
Okay, I'm going to pause this for a second because there is a question that I have, and Cam, maybe she's going to answer this a little later in the interview. On what did the mayor and the local fire chief and the local police chief base the statement, okay, this thing's under control, we're good to go, everybody can come back to their homes, it's bad, but it's under control, everything's going to be normal?
From what I understand in talking with her, it's basically because they didn't know shit about what was going on. They had no idea what was in the train cars or the tankers.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right.
Look,
So
they knew by Saturday because it's already been reported that they knew about the at least the vinyl chloride.
wow.
Yeah.
So they were telling people different things.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she gets into when they got the hard evacuation order, and it wasn't Saturday.
Okay. All right.
That would have been Monday, is my understanding, because Monday was when they did the. Monday is when they blew it up. I'm gonna stop calling it a controlled explosion because there was nothing controlled about what they did. But
no, that's probably
it went from how my guess was there was probably, I don't know if there's more pictures out there. I'm curious as to how many tankers were on fire. I know vinyl chloride's highly flammable. At some point, a chain reaction happened and lit the others on fire. Because at one time there was 50 cars on fire at the same time.
wow. All right, I'm going to start it back up now unless anybody's got anything else they want to add at the moment.
Well, Kat said that they're all watching on her phone right now. But if we've got questions after, she'll hop on and she'll talk to us.
Okay, sure. All right, and everybody, here we go.
Well, when we get back into the house, it reeks. It is foul. I've never smelled anything like it in my life. It smelled like burning tires, acetone, and like a million other things with it. It was foul. And I was having a hard time relaxing. I was like, that smell is awful, because like I get migraines from high scents. Like I can't even burn candles in my house because I get migraines from it. And so I was instantly ill, obviously, from it. And my husband was like, I'm sure it's just the smell of like burning train car, and like someone had said there was probably coal on the train, and it was probably like coal fire smell, and it's bad, but you know, nothing's going to come of it. It's fine. You know, it's just, we need to air out the house a little bit tomorrow. So we were exhausted. We laid down to go to sleep, and basically took the day off that Saturday. And we stayed here all day Saturday. Sunday morning, we get a pounding on the door. And my dog, you know, goes crazy. And I'm looking on the cameras and I don't see anyone at our house. I tell my husband, I was like, I think you need to go downstairs and see, because you know how there's difference between knocking? There's like urgent answer the door knocking, and then there's like, yeah, and it was like a power knock, right? And I was like, that sounded really aggressive.
And this
Just
was
make sure.
this was almost a day and a half after derailment.
Correct. It was, yeah, so it would have been about a day and a half. So this was Sunday morning. So my husband goes down and he doesn't see anyone, but then he sees a cop that's kind of like at our four-way. And he's like, hey, were you knocking on the door? Like, what's going on? And he goes, oh, nothing. I'm just getting a head count. I'm just getting a head count of who's still in the zone. And we're like, okay, yeah, we're here. And, there's three
The
of us.
zone.
And that whole morning was the most chaotic morning I can remember having. There was so much misinformation without any information on social media. We could not get any answers whatsoever. There was not a, like an official announcement anywhere. No one in power was actually giving us straight answers. They had a 211 like non-emergency line that you could call that absolutely did no help, because I would call and they would tell me one thing. My neighbor would call and they would tell her a different thing. My other neighbor would call and they would tell her a third thing. There was no direction or answer. So we were getting told everyone needed to evacuate within a 2-mile radius. And then someone else was being told that we needed to evacuate immediately, mandatory, no questions asked, get out. And the cop was saying, oh no, we're just getting a head count. And we couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. No one knew. No one could figure it out. I'm telling people what I've heard. They're telling me what they've heard. We're looking on like our Facebook pages. It was no answers whatsoever. Meanwhile, the fumes are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm like already very sick from this. I'm like, I don't know what to even think. It wasn't until around noon. So it was a little bit before noon. One of our neighbors, so a neighbor across town, had finally, he lives with his grandmother, and his grandmother is the head or was the head of a bunch of organizations that we have here in town. So she knows like all of the people in power personally, you know what I mean? So they finally spoke to her when she asked, and they said, it's a mandatory evacuation for a mile, planned for about 3 days. And so for me, I took that as the best information that I was going to get, because it felt almost insider information, because no one else was hearing anything. So we don't have any family, my husband and I, we don't have any family or anything like that we could just go to someone's house, to hang out. All of our friends live in the zone, so there was no help there. So we made the decision, because we, financially, we don't really just have like money to just like take off, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So we were like, I don't really want to do the hotel thing. Let's just go to the Red Cross station that they had at the high school. Maybe they have more information there. It's a safe place because, it's like a mile away from the zone. We'll just go there. So we get there around noon. And we've got our kids on board and everything. So we just hung out the day at the station there, the Red Cross station. And it was actually kind of fun because, I knew a lot of people that were there, and we just kind of played board games and hung out with the kids and walked around and stuff. And
Kind of like
an
impromptu community.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. It was a way to just kind of forget what was going on and just kind of hang out for a while, right? Because there's a bunch of us together, and we went around. And then that night, they announced an emergency meeting. That it was an emergency announcement. There was a bunch of news crews that were hanging out at the Red Cross station, and all of them took off immediately to the municipal building for this emergency meeting. It was apparently a big deal. And so we're sitting there in our little FEMA cots, watching this on our phones, and all that they say, we are in danger of a catastrophic failure. If you can leave town, get out now. And that's not really something that you want to hear.
Pause it. When was this meeting again? I think I missed that. Or
All right.
Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon, evening. So the timetable so far is the derailment was Friday night. Fires blazing. No one knows what's going on. They issue a temporary evacuation order. The next day, as far as everyone knows, it's okay. It's just a fire, and they're afraid of it getting out of control. They get through Saturday with the smell and the breathing issues, all this crap. Cops are knocking on the door, getting a head count. And then Sunday, they get told to go to the high school. And then while they're at the high school where the Red Cross had set up, that night they get, hey, catastrophic failure incoming, get out of Dodge.
Now, here's my question, and maybe this is going to become apparent the further we're listening to this. At this point, it sounds like everything that's happened up until Sunday is local police, local fire department, everything else. When did the state EPA and the federal EPA start stepping in, and also NTSB?
I mean, NTSB and EPA probably wouldn't come in until after the fact anyway.
That I'd understand, but I guess my question is, okay, if on Friday,
be FEMA, if anybody, FEMA should have been there like over the weekend.
I absolutely agree with that. But my point is this: if the mayor and the police chief and the fire chief are, telling the residents Friday morning, 6, 7 a.m., hey, the fire's under control, we're good, go home, everything's okay. At what point, and again, I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, I'm just trying to understand the breakdown here, because on the one side, you've got the local officials that everybody's looking to give them answers. On the other side, here come the feds and the state of Ohio at some point. At what point did the state and the feds finally get in there? Was it Sunday? Was it Monday?
It would have been probably either Sunday night or Monday morning, because I'm willing to bet that the feds are the ones who actually blew the car. That was scary for them.
As far as FEMA, I'm pretty sure they didn't help at all because there wasn't enough property damage.
FEMA didn't show up, but the
what, NTSB? Not until catastrophic failure was imminent. Oh goodness. Okay, so that was like Sunday night.
Hold on.
Wow.
All right, am I back?
Well, here's another question. Here's another question that I have. At what point did Norfolk Southern, did they get in? All right, they know their train has derailed. When did they contact, or did they even contact the mayor, the police chief, and the fire chief and say, hey, this train's derailed, this is the contents we had on the cars? Did they even do that?
I think she talks about that. It was, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, whenever the manifest was first released.
Okay, so the manifest gets released on Monday. So, like, what, 3-4 days after the crash?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And that, she said that's a question a lot of them had, because typically manifests are readily available, especially when you're dealing with hazardous chemicals. And she said the EPA was there, but only to observe.
Holy cow. Jesus. Okay. All right, I'm going to start this back up. I'll be right back here in just a second.
Mm.
And none of the workers that were there, the Red Cross volunteers, none of the other news reporters had heard anything about this. Obviously, we're freaking out because there had during that day been finally word that there were chemicals on this train. So we were aware at that point, not what it was, not how much, not anything like that. They just said there are chemicals on the train. And so we were like, great. So we just spent like a day and a half sitting in that with no warning of what we were doing.
Whenever they announced that they were close to catastrophic failure, like how did that make you feel?
Oh, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. My daughter, she's 21. She has an apartment down from mine. But we had her with us because I was like, yeah, you're not sending this on your, so we had her, but she immediately started hysterically bawling. She was scared out of her mind. I immediately, we had our dog, we have a really big golden doodle. We had our dog with us at the Red Cross station, but he was a little out of control with all the people around. He just wanted to like sit in everybody's lap, which not everyone appreciates a 70-pound dog in their lap, So my husband was like, I'm just going to take him back home temporarily until we figure out because we weren't even really expecting to spend the night there. So I look at my husband as soon as we heard the announcement. I said, go get
Can you
the
pause it
dog.
for a second?
I'm calling for a hotel. I called around.
Yeah, Kat said the full manifest wasn't released until 2 weeks later.
Oh my God. So not only do we have an accident that quite probably could have been avoided, because I found one article, we can get into this later. I found one article where NTSB is claiming that there are these sensor arrays, for lack of a better way of saying it, that was telling the conductor of the train, the engineer, hey, you've got an axle that's overheating, like really, really, really hot. You need to stop the train now. So we got that going on. Then on top of that, we've got, they're not releasing the manifest of what they had until like 2 weeks after the fact. So no one's got any idea why there's funny smells, why people's eyes are burning, why things are happening. No local officials understand what's going on here. Jesus God. And you've got the EPA just standing around going, oh, something happened. Oh my God.
I mean, honestly, you never put much stock into it. The EPA doesn't really do anything. They don't even have any actual enforcement capabilities. All they do, it's literally just a bureaucracy organization of useless rules. Yeah. I only know this because I worked for the Corps of Engineers for a while, straight out of college, and I did a stint in our regulatory section.
Yeah.
And so they had to work with EPA and local and state EPA equivalents a lot. And I got all of that explained to me, how like the EPA really, all they can do is write things up, and if somebody committed a criminal action, they can submit it to the DOJ. But good luck getting the DOJ to prosecute anything, because even when they are doing their job, their caseloads are way too big, and yeah. Anyway,
unbelievable. Jesus God. So the EPA is not doing anything. The EPA can't do anything. NTSB is AWOL.
All NTSB is gonna do is an investigation and file a report of what happened. And so, like in a couple of years, we'll get the official story, right? I mean, there'll probably be some nuggets of knowledge in there. I would like to know more about like if any of the sensors failed. It sounds like they actually didn't fail. It perhaps might have just been ignored for 20 miles. If you want to bring up that one.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to believe that.
Yeah. I mean, when we first talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I mean, giving the benefit of the doubt, I thought, okay, the one in Salem perhaps failed, and then the next one is right in East Palestine, and it derailed about a mile from that sensor. And I guess the question is, when did they actually apply the brakes to the train?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great question. They have 911 calls about the train bearings on fire for 20 miles. Jeez, God. Wow. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I guess I'm asking the question is,
They're getting no help at this point, basically.
well, they're getting no help, and they're getting no worse yet from Norfolk Southern. They're getting no information. I mean, again, I don't know train law or train regulation in this country, but it seems to me that if something like this happens, something ought to be triggered that a company like Norfolk Southern immediately discloses to somebody, either at the local level, the state level, whoever, hey, this is what we had on the train. I mean, even if it's not required, common sense ought to tell them it's in our best interest to let everybody know what the hell we had on the train.
Yeah, I
Otherwise,
mean,
we
I
got
would
a
think
whole host of issues going on here.
I
it would be
guarantee.
interesting to get to talk to anybody in the fire department in that town, just to see what the communications were like with Norfolk Southern.
I guarantee that Norfolk knew exactly what was on that train car within minutes of it derailing, and their immediate thoughts were, "How do we protect as much money as we can?" Yeah, and you'll see why as the interview goes on.
Mhm.
These people are they're they're getting bread in circuses. Only it's
Wow.
worse because they're not even getting a show.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we ready to start this thing back up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was no hotels open until you hit Boardman, which is it's about 25 miles, I think. The place that we were at from here, 22 to 25 miles or so. And they had openings, and I was like, I need a room. I don't care what it is. They were, they're like, do you want a king, or I said, I don't care. I just need a roof, So we. Oh, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified, and my kids are freaking out. We're just. It's like the bomb's already gone off. You know what I mean? Like you don't. This is like the third time we've been evacuated at this point, right? So we're like, what the heck? So we jump in the car. I grab my friends and her family. I was like, we're leaving now. Let's go. I'm not leaving you here. And we all book it. And as we're booking it, it's late at night. It was probably like 9-10 o'clock or so at that point. It was late. As we're leaving, there's like a mass exodus of people behind us. You know what I mean? It's like you see in movies, just like it's full. And we get there. We were some of the first people to arrive at the hotel, and we're checking in. And as we're checking in, the whole lobby fills up, and it's nothing but people I know.
Oh,
It's
wow.
all East Palestine. So essentially, that was kind of the end of the trauma. We stayed at the hotel for about almost 2 weeks, just shy of 2 weeks. My husband, they lifted the order. So it was like Monday that the catastrophic failure happened, and then they lifted the order on Wednesday. Within 8 minutes of lifting the evacuation order, trains were going through town. So they had already fixed the track. They they just filled in the toxic hole, and built railroad tracks over it, and they were already just one after the other after the other. Now we weren't here in town, but people had videos of it, just coming through town. We waited a few days, and then my husband, we waited a few days. Let's see, by what day was it? So we got up there Monday. By Wednesday, or maybe it was Thursday. I think it was Thursday. The day after they lifted the evacuation order, I was in the hospital with all of this. I was unable to breathe, all of the classic symptoms that you're seeing people complaining of now. And then my husband went down. He was in the hospital too. Then a few days later, we were at the hospital. We ordered tons of air purifiers and stuff, trying to do something with the house. We were given absolutely no guidance whatsoever on.
Sorry to interrupt. What did they tell you at the hospital as far as what was going on with you?
So we were both diagnosed with. So my husband had just lung irritation due to chemical exposure, and then like high anxiety state, things like that. I was actually diagnosed with another fun heart condition, which was great. They said that the stress had exacerbated a condition that I may have already had, but now the stress on my heart had like made the condition rear its head before it might have otherwise. And then I have chemical bronchitis on top of
Oh my God.
PTSD and stuff like that. And I was sorry, I've got a whole list. I've my medical records have been sent to Congress. They're so compelling.
Jesus.
One thing, my mom, she lives in West Virginia, and I know it's not close, but I told her, I'm like, you need to go get a checkup.
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly what the baseline is.
Yes.
Everything comes up later.
Yes. They're all telling us that we need to do that. The problem is the information that is being given out. The doctors don't even know what we're supposed to be testing for. So they've even reached out to the CDC saying, what testing should we do? Some doctors were saying that there weren't even any testing to look for vinyl chloride, and then I guess some super sleuths figured out what the order codes were for that.
Can you pause it for a sec?
There's no information.
So with that, instead of testing for vinyl chloride, I would think that what they need to test for are PFAS chemicals, like the forever chemicals that show up as free radicals in the blood, because that's with vinyl chloride being so carcinogenic, it would make sense that there are lingering free radicals that should be floating around in the body if they were exposed to it to that degree. But it's ridiculous that they didn't even know what to test for. They're not getting any guidance on what to do. And
unbelievable.
As she gets more and more, it really just sounds like they're just trying to cover their ass, and they'd rather deal with the fallout later than immediately.
Yeah, and the feds are definitely no help in this matter because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and maybe this becomes, maybe they redeem themselves later in this conversation. But at this point, I'm hearing like nothing of like, okay, this is what you guys need to do. We're from this agency. Here are the steps you need to take. Yada yada. There's nothing. It's just like, 3 different groups of federal workers are standing around and no one knows what the hell they ought to be doing.
Like I said, man, the beginning of the interview was the most cheerful part.
God bless. Okay, we're ready.
Yeah, I'm gonna be AFK for a minute.
Okay,
but I'm listening.
Okay.
We saw on the I think it was a statement that Biden had put out, or his press secretary or someone had put out, saying that there were going to be informational and support packets sent, or not sent, but brought to every single residence in the zone, right? So they're like, expect those in the morning. they'll be there for you, and we're thinking, thank God, like we're finally going to get some information or some help or something like that. The packet was 3 pages of Xerox paper stapled together.
Wait, pause it a
and
second.
the
Pause
top
it a second.
one was
Okay. In your opinion, what do you think is in this packet? What's your
Well, it's
best
not the
guess?
MSDS, which is probably your best source for figuring out, like, at least starting to figure out what you might be dealing with.
Just take a guess as to what it is, and then continue playing. You'll have fun with this one.
My guess is that it was something that an intern created.
Something so basic and so commonsensical that it had nothing to do with the situation. As a matter of fact, it's probably something on the lines of, "Are you feeling dizzy? Do you feel lightheaded? If so, contact your physician immediately." Or
Yeah, just
something
it
so
just tells you
banal
to
that
go
just
talk.
doesn't even
Something
apply.
tells you to talk to something that tells you to call your doctor. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Your
Doesn't give the doctors any guidance. It's not like they may or may not have dealt with it, and I mean it's most likely that they haven't unless they're around. Unless they happen to be in a town where there's a plant that deals with this stuff on a regular basis, then they might have ran into it. You know.
No, well, you're giving them too much credit. This is the federal government.
Oh, geez.
But
don't you dare ever
you're-
accuse me of giving the federal government too much credit.
Well,
no, not with this bunch. Hell no.
Porch, you are extremely close. So, all right, go ahead. I'm AFK.
Oh God, here we go.
the phone numbers that are completely useless that we've had. You know, like if you need, you know, air testing, call this number. If you need, you know, this, that, and the other. It's the numbers that we've had forever. And then the second one was ways to de-stress yourself.
What?
Clearly, all of this is going on with us. It's psychosomatic, and we just need to de-stress ourselves.
No kidding. Really? They had a 30-car derailment 1 mile from their town, in their town. Fires are going all over the place. People are evacuating. No one's got information, but we need to de-stress ourselves. Oh, Jesus, God.
Distress yourself. Wow.
I'm sorry. Okay. Continuing.
Yeah, you didn't actually experience any kind of.
No, there was no trauma. We weren't doused in a million toxic chemicals. We just need to de-stress ourselves. So completely useless, you know. But we didn't even get
Did they recommend yoga or group therapy? But I digress.
the manifest of what toxins were on board until about 4 or 5 days later. And then 4 or 5 days after that, they added 3 more chemicals to the list. Now, I'm under the understanding that most train manifests are widely known. Like they're supposed to be like readily available. Yeah. And then you're just adding more and more toxins onto it days later.
Yeah.
You would think that would be with the original manifest, but you know, whatever. That's nothing to see here. So we've definitely we're all angry, and it's honestly it's starting to hit a boiling point. The reason I called later than anticipated is because there was a fist fight in the middle of the street downtown. Someone was delivering water, and I don't know what happened. I got there a few minutes late, but I took a video of it. But there was a fist fight in the middle of town,
Oh,
a screaming
God.
match between people, and half of the people that were standing there saying, "If you're not from here, get out of town. We're sick of it," you know. And I can't imagine someone trying to turn down help because the man had a whole trailer of water on the back of his truck. So I'm not sure what the situation was, but it's reaching a boiling point with people. People want answers. People want real help, and we're getting zero.
And I mean, I hate to say it, but I can understand that lash out, because when you've got something serious that can affect your health in a very severe way, and the government is giving you nothing.
Yes.
You're going to take it out on someone or something.
And I feel like we're in the middle of a politics game also. And And that's very, very frustrating because I don't know if you saw, but like that Joy Behar woman on The View yesterday was like, "This is what you get because you voted for Trump." Well, how do you know who voted for who? I thought we were Americans.
Good point.
Like, I don't understand what that has to do with people that are, sick and dying here. And another interesting thing that I was sent another news article. I think it was from ABC today. My good friend talked about us in it, but Saram Fabs, which is the company that was basically at ground zero. So like you had Leaks Oil and then you have Saram Fab. So like the fire was right there at Saram Fab. The owner of Saram Fab, he was generous. The evacuation was lifted on Wednesday. So he told his workers they could come back on Monday. And I guess over during the weekends or whatever, he had the air tested by the the company that's doing it, CTEC. And they said, "Oh, it looks good here. Everything's fine." His workers came back. They're closed now. You know why? All of his workers are in the hospital.
Oh no.
Every
chemical exposure to their lungs.
Yes, it was. They're all on like permanent nebulizers right now.
Oh my
because none of
God.
them can breathe. So you tell me, and half of them don't even live here in town. So it's not from being at home.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
long-term issue.
Exactly. So yeah, it feels real safe. And our house, where it's located, we are right, maybe 25 feet from Leslie Run, which is one of the contaminated creeks. It's actually the initial contamination creek, right? So like you have the derailment, and the creek that runs right next to it that feeds into all of these other creeks is Leslie Run. So it's right behind our house. And there's giant trucks there all the time. Lord knows what they're doing. But every night, twice a night, they agitate the water, and all of those chemicals come right up out of the water straight into our house. So we are completely unable to get rid of the smell because every single night our house is reinfested.
That was one of my main concerns whenever I first started seeing the videos of the creeks and the riverbeds. These chemicals, they're heavier than the water, and they're settling on the bottom.
Yes.
And my immediate thought was, there's no way that this is going to just get flushed out because
No.
it's sinking to the bottom and settling in the bed. So unless there's massive flooding or complete dredging of the bottom, nothing is going to wash this stuff out.
Exactly. You would have to dam it way upstream and then dredge the entire creek bed, which this creek bed goes underneath some people's homes.
I'm not even sure the
Oh,
dredging would do
no.
Basically, their basement is the creek.
All right, so are there any people on well water? Like
There are
private
some.
well water?
Yes, there are some in town. Not in town, but outskirts of town. But I believe pretty much everyone. Now there's some on the PA side that are on well water, but pretty much everyone that was on the Ohio side of the derailment is on the city water, and the city water isn't what we're concerned about. I mean, they're putting tons of stuff in there, like chlorine and stuff to like make sure it's safe or whatnot. And I know they're testing it a lot. It doesn't feel safe. Like nothing feels safe now. Basically, that's the problem, because no one's telling you the real answers. There's a private water tester. This is what he does. He tests environmental disasters, but it's a private company. One of the residents has hired him to come in and like actually test, because she lives on the creek also. And we were at a meeting with him, and he was explaining some things. And there's such a conflict of interest going on right now. He explained it like this. He said if I were to go out and I was going to murder a railroad worker, like I just shot him in the middle of the street, right? Someone that's associated with the railroad company, or whatever. And then the cops told me that I could do the DNA testing for that murder. And so then I came back and just said, well, we tested the blood and it came back as human, but we can't tell you anything beyond that. Is essentially what's going on.
Yeah, basically the people guilty of the disaster are the only ones in charge of any kind of
Exactly.
testing.
It's the railroad company that's testing our air, and the only thing that they're testing for is VCOS, which is the organic comment, which is like everything. If I burned an incense stick in my house, my air would spike with VCOS. But does that mean it's dangerous? No. Does that mean it's safe? No. It doesn't, because the dioxins are the issue that we're dealing with now, and no one is testing for those.
And I'm not sure how accurate this is, but dioxin is apparently something very closely related to Agent Orange, is it not?
Correct.
Oh God.
Correct. The initial chemical that was created. Do you remember what it was called? The one when it was burned. It's the one that was the trench gas in World War I, and it has been outlawed by the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, can you?
Hang on, I'm pausing that for a second because I was just looking this up for research purposes, and I know
Dioxin, I think.
Yeah, I know it's been mentioned in chat, but the last Vagabond got an article out on this. This is from about a week ago, and yeah, if I can find this real fast, hang on. Yeah, but he's mentioning it in his article that this stuff. Yeah, here's the quote. Dioxins are mostly formed during the incineration process. When certain chemical compounds are burned, dioxins are formed. According to the National Institutes of Environmental Health Science, dioxins are primarily byproducts of industrial practices. They are produced through a variety of incineration processes, including improper municipal waste incineration, burning of trash, can be released into the air, natural processes. Another common form of dioxin production, bleaching process in paper and pulp. But yeah, this has been mentioned as like dioxins were like one of the things like comparable to what was done in World War I.
Yeah.
And everybody knows the stories about the chemical warfare that took place back then, and that stuff was crazy.
Yeah, and you see what Voice of the People said? That is actually the better outcome than letting it dissipate naturally.
Well, potentially. I think that depends on what was really happening, because I think and I might lend my opinion to that, just because if it really was on fire and your pressure relief has failed and if there actually is an imminent explosion risk, then trying to manually vent that tank is, I would think, actually the better decision. I mean, I think he's making the case that it might be the better decision to control burn even if it's not on fire. But
Yeah.
I think, Boyce, would you agree that it wasn't really a controlled burn? Because they said, I mean, looking at the pictures, it looks like at least 20, or I mean, at least a dozen, maybe up to 20. I've seen pictures of just tankers look like they've gone up. So I don't know. It's like, is the result that we got what you would expect? Although you did say something about how they didn't keep something cool enough, and maybe that's how they botched it.
I mean, there's so many if-thens though, because
Yeah.
they, like, I think Binary said they what would have happened if they had if they had went in full hazmat suits and started like pumping this stuff in the barrels, or just something, pumping it into a different tanker. But what was the like, because if they had put out the fire, then there shouldn't have been any imminent threat of catastrophic failure, right? If they had the fire under control and they were venting for
I think that partially depends because the vinyl chloride, as voice mentions, it boils at 8 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have any pressure relief, you do have a risk of blowing up a pressure vessel if you don't have pressure relief there.
yeah. Okay. So it sounds like it has to be a extremely cooled chemical to avoid any kind of failures. So, are you guys creeped out yet?
Here's a question for you, Kat. Just to kind of put it out there, we can dispel it as a conspiracy theory, or maybe you can confirm this. But it was reported that a month prior, all of the residents of East Palestine had been offered these like medical ID tracking bracelet or something. Is there any truth to that? Did you witness any of that?
Well, I mean, that
I
was an article. It was a published event.
yes. I mean, according to the article, is available to all of the residents of that. I guess it was a township or city, you know.
Yeah, I think there's only like 14,000 people there, so
Yeah,
it's
I'm just
definitely a
curious if
small
she
town.
witnessed any of that. You know, that kind of gives anecdotal support to what that
Well,
article was saying.
we can
And again, you're still just talking like, you know, is that coincidence or was that planned?
yeah, we can ask her after
Yeah.
too, if she still wants to come on.
I'm not creeped out. I'm just pissed. I mean,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a clown show. I mean, I don't fault the mayor. I don't fault the local police chief. I don't fault the local fire department. That's not my anger. My anger is with the state of Ohio, but even more than the state of Ohio, it's with the feds. It really is.
Mine's more directed at fucking Norfolk Southern.
And I don't disagree with you there.
Because how much safety protocol have they skimmed out and cut down and trimmed off in order to keep making their profit?
Well, and another question that I have is, and I don't know how much this ties in, maybe it doesn't, but I remember several months ago, there were like ongoing negotiations between the train unions and the feds over contract, and they wanted more people on the trains. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not excusing the people who were on this particular train. If they were getting warnings miles and miles and miles before this derailment happened and they could have stopped it, okay, that's on them.
Bring up Kat's previous message. Confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And I was talking to my dad about this. He pointed out, just as devil's advocate, you know, like how many other towns have they, you know, distributed that at? Was it actually a nationwide program? And that would lend more towards a coincidence. But I told him, you know, it's just like maybe we ought to be looking at those towns for future train accidents.
Well, dude, this whole the train workers or the railroad workers, like at a certain point, this is just a tragic inevitability as well. Because look at how many derailments we already have.
Mm-hmm.
And
the average 1,700 a year.
Yeah, and
it's terrible.
What's it called? Precision railroad systems or some bullshit like that, where skeleton crews, which gives time for less inspections, keeping trains in the yard for less amount of time to find any errors or faults or fail safes that have gone bad. Like, this should be a huge fucking wake up call again, on top of all the other bullshit we've seen from our government, that they do not give a fuck about you. Period.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They don't. These corporations who are more important people than the constituents who vote these assholes in, because what do? They give them fucking money. And it's a disgusting regulatory capture, and it's extreme corruption to the nth fucking degree. And now they're already trying to memory hole this shit, trying to act like everything's okay. 3 weeks later, there are still people fucking throwing up and getting sick and dealing with chemical burns inside their lungs. Like she said earlier, that whole fucking factory shut
Yep.
down. And these workers were people who lived outside of town. And they're all in the hospital with using fucking nebulizers to breathe. This is a joke. It is a fucking joke. Sorry.
No, dude.
Rant over.
Oh, we'll be ranting a whole lot more before
Yeah,
this interview's
yeah,
done. I had no
Yeah,
doubt
there's
about
still
that.
there's still more to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wait till you get to the end. Is just fucking sad.
Okay, hang on. Let me get this thing restarted.
I can't remember what the name of it is. I've got it all written down in my notes, but
You're not talking about mustard gas, are you?
yeah, it was essentially mustard gas. It just fills your lungs up with fluid and you die from it.
Okay, can
So
we
that
pause
was
it a
the
sec?
initial-
Yeah.
This right here. EPA sitting there with their thumbs up their asses watching this shit happen. Norfolk Southern's got financial interest out the ass regarding what happens with this. And I guarantee both governors are just like, we need to get this fucking taken care of immediately. They probably put no further thought into it than that. Yeah, fuck these people.
Yeah, and their idea of taking care of it's like, yeah, let's just get this behind us, burn off the chemicals, and burning it obviously would be the best solution, because that'll just make it all go away. Well, boys, you just made it from bad to worse.
Yeah.
burn off, because it's a trench gas. So that's why they were saying, oh, we're going to test your basements and stuff and like low areas and whatnot. But there's so many other things that are happening and so many other chemicals that we're not even being told about that no one's even testing for those. Yeah. And it's clearly not safe, because if the railroad company goes in and they test your air and they say it's safe, and then every one of your workers is in the hospital,
sounds a lot like
does that make you feel safe?
Well, it sounds a lot like
Pause again for a second. Sorry. Yeah, going back, thinking about it, it's bullshit that they're testing for this in the air, because this chemical compound is heavier than the air. It's heavier than the water. It is not going to be in the fucking air anymore. Of course, it's not going to show up. They need to be testing the ground, the beds of the lakes, and the surfaces of buildings, cars, plants, shit like that. And
Talking about phosgene gas.
Yeah, yeah. Well, any of the chemicals, they're not.
I don't
They're not
know
going to
about
be
the
in
others,
the
but
air. I don't see them being still in the air 3 weeks fucking later. I think this is just an easy way out to say, yeah, it's safe. Go ahead. And meanwhile, you got people working in these factories and stuff and running around town, and the wind's blowing this dust and shit everywhere.
well, like if it's heavier than air, then where you should be testing is where, low places where it can accumulate.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
ground level
Or
on the surfaces
like in
of
basements, yeah.
yeah, drainages, ditches.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. Just
there was good quality, and then 10
Exactly.
years later, everyone ends up with lung cancer.
Everyone has cancer. Yeah. And so that's what we're terrified of. Like we already have, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen on our local pages, because, we have, small town, it's small town. We have small town pages on Facebook, where people can say, hey, there's a fish fry or, whatever. Well, now it's just full of people showing off their rashes or, telling us, where the latest, bottled water is. And I appreciate so much. So much all of these people that are donating.
You know what that makes me think of?
And
the fucking. Have you ever played Fallout? Any of the Fallout games?
I don't think I ever have.
these people who get the radiation burns, they're called ghouls, and some of them lose their mental capacities, but the ones that are that still have their mental faculty, this reminds me of that, where they're just burned all over and they're trying to find, non-contaminated water. Like, this is dystopian shit.
Jesus.
Cleaning supplies or whatever it is that they're bringing. But that's not what we need. We need relocation help. We need federal help to help us get out of these houses because they are not safe. And
how do you feel about the federal government saying we can't give any assistance on the federal level because there's not enough property damage?
Right. Yeah, that gives you a warm fuzzy, doesn't it? Because I even said it too. Growing up for about 5 years, I lived in Kansas, close to Kansas City, and we were on Tornado Alley. And I remember one time when I was about 9 years old, my parents, you hear the sirens go off. My parents were like, "You need to go in the basement," and we had hid under like a spare bed that we had, me and my little sister, and we had windows, next door to us. And I remember looking out the window and watching my neighbor's house get completely sucked down to the foundation by this tornado, right? And I was like, I would rather go through that 4 million times than deal with this. I would rather my house have burned down, which I know is absolutely terrible. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I have so many things. I have things from my great grandparents in here, things, irreplaceable things. And I said, I would rather it be a complete loss, everything burned down, than go through this. Because yeah, all of my things are here, and I'm kind of a maximalist. I have things on every inch of my wall. It's a real kind of cottagecore witchy kind of type of house looking, thing. And I hate it now because like I don't want to touch anything, and I've taken everything off the walls and washed them the way that they said to, and I don't feel safe. I don't like being in my home, which my home was my pride, and I don't feel safe here. I don't feel comfortable here. And there's no answer. We can't financially just up and move right now. My business is still closed. Trying to deal with some insurance issues and stuff like that. We don't even know, because a lot of insurance policies don't cover chemicals. They cover, acts of God and fires and things like that, but they don't cover chemical spills. So we're having to fight that to even, possibly get some sort of insurance payout for that. And, my husband works from home, and his boss actually lived in East Palestine, and his boss isn't even at home because he doesn't feel safe. So there's severe loss of all income, and then no help. So what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, that's one of the slimier parts that I've noticed is not only are you not getting any information, you're not actually getting the help that you need to continue on and not lose it. It reminds me a lot of someone going through the disability process.
Yeah.
Because for that first year to 2 years, you don't have any help.
There's nothing. There's no resource. There's nothing.
And you don't get to recoup your losses. Like, it's just survive until this point, and then you can.
And then maybe you
can scrape by it.
But we're not even getting like light at the end of the tunnel vibes from anything. I mean, yes, there's a lot of lawsuits going on, and maybe in 5 to 10 years, if we're still around, we might see a payout. I don't know. I've never been through like a big class action lawsuit. I know that enough lawyers have told us that it's a no-brainer, case, that because even the NTSB preliminary report says that the derailment was avoidable. And
under normal circumstances, lawyers suing or lining up to start suing, I wouldn't be in favor of. But I tell you what, if ever there was a situation that just screamed for a class action lawsuit to put Norfolk Southern, maybe not out of business, but take a very serious bite out of their backside, this is it. Really. And they deserve every penny they have to pay.
Yeah, and that's something I talk with her about too, because most people, they just want to be good people. They don't want to cause any trouble, and they feel dirty for going after people for money. Um, I think a lot of that is because they just don't see the immediate effects right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Hang on.
And the NTSB says that the derailment was avoidable. That makes you feel like the lawsuits are pretty much a slam dunk, because that's pretty much a nail in the coffin right there. But right, and it's not a hard sell to prove that you have losses, because I've got it right there on my chart that, already I'm having health issues. This is already damaging me. So, and I've got, I have other health issues. I've got immune disorders and things like that on top of it. So this is just not really a fun time to begin with. But it is very much so. Exactly. I was already, struggling a bit, but then you add on all of this, and then you've got a big.
Speaking of the lawsuits and stuff, did you go to the town meeting last night with Aaron Brockovich?
Actually, we did not. We watched it live. However, I did have an earlier meeting one-on-one with her and her experts. So we kind of figured, we knew it was going to be a circus at the town hall. So we were like, we're going to skip it and just watch it from home, because we already had that one-on-one with her earlier in the day. So she's wanting to do some extra testing here at our house, some sort of canister that sucks in air that they can test over. It sucks in for like 8 hours, and then they take that canister and test it because of where we're located with the creek and everything. Right. So we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, mixed feelings about what can actually be accomplished with everything. It's just, there's an extreme number of ambulance chasers right now, as you can imagine. Yeah. And so really trying to weed through that. I think a lot of small business owners are kind of banding together in a lot of ways. And because most of us that own businesses here are also affected home-wise. So, so I think at least me and my good friends that are also business owners here in town, I think are kind of banding together and kind of going with some people that local people have suggested. I believe it's a firm out of Texas, but we haven't signed anything or really made any concrete decisions. That's kind of last problem on the list. You know what I mean? Because that's not immediate help. That's not immediate issue.
Right.
So
lawsuits today aren't going to deal with health issues later.
Exactly. And right now, to avoid it, we're just trying to get out of town. You know what I mean? Like, and that makes me sick, because this town is everything to me. I love this town. I built my business here, and I've made lifelong friendships here, and they're all my family, and I don't want to leave. That is the very I told everyone that I was going to die in this town, but I don't want to die in this town in 5 years. You know what I mean? Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, do you mind?
Hang on. I got to say something. I mean, y'all know where I'm from, and I don't care to tell the chat. I'm from anybody's watching. I'm from West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
The description that she's giving of that kind of life, of communities that are built around, the railroad or the factory, and these are people that have lived in these same places for generations. There are some that move away for various reasons, and I get that, but you're talking about families and families and families, generations and generations and generations that stay in the same place. They don't ever want to leave. This town, absent some massive help, they're destroyed. And what she's saying, I thought I never wanted to leave. I don't want to leave. And that, I will almost bet you go up and down through that town, and most people are going to give that same response. They
Yeah.
don't want to go. They just want help. They want their lives put back to as much of normal as you can get, given the hell they're going through.
Yeah, I mean, and it, like you said, it's not just the people now. It's probably going to be for generations to come. This area is probably going to be completely wrecked from the damage that was caused by this derailment. And they she and she and the people who are dealing with this and going through this, they have no idea what the future holds. They have no idea what their health's going to be. They have no idea how it's going to be a week from now, let alone tomorrow. And they're getting not a fucking thing as far as help from the
No.
government.
Mm-mm.
And at bare minimum, there needs to be a private company, independent, third party who has no ties to Norfolk Southern, is independent from the government, and if they got to contract it out. Test every fucking inch of that
Oh,
area.
absolutely.
Get some absolute true test results. And if this area is fucked up, give these people money to move somewhere else and start healing instead of continually being exposed every time the wind kicks up or the water gets flushed down or it rains. Like, give these people some kind of fucking relief.
Well, and here's another option or another question that I have. If Why is Norfolk Southern not being treated like a coal company? I mean, I can speak to a little bit of this. I mean, when a coal company goes into an area of land and they've mined out the coal, they have the legal obligation to reclaim the land. In other words, put it back to as much as what it was, or at least to some productive use. If Norfolk Southern is proven to be culpable in this and guilty, should they? I mean, again, this is maybe a question for a judge. Maybe this is a question for somebody else. But should they not have the responsibility financially to put
Yes,
that land back to what it was before the accident?
you would think so. You would absolutely fucking think so. And grateful, you are 100% correct. You are correct that people who are testing every inch of the area mysteriously had a plane crash.
Yeah, there were five scientists coming out of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yep.
Plane crashed. Craziest thing I never heard of.
I wonder if they had any information on that would lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton.
I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. All right, let us continue. Any other comments?
No, I'm getting pissed off again.
Oh, dude, I get it. This is just a failure on so many levels. Just remarkable.
Well, and guys, the Griftcast raid, thank you so much for coming over. Share this with as many people as you can because they're trying to memory hole this shit, and these people need fucking help. And I'm absolutely going to grift right now. And this shirt, I showed this to Kat, and she 100% approved of this because she says this is exactly how everyone in the town is feeling. Sold Mayor Pete, paying some homage to Anchorman because this is how these people feel about the government's response right now. And every single shirt that is sold or gets bought, I'm taking every penny of profit, and I'm going to I'm going to talk to Kat, and we're going to get it set up to where the people get this money directly, not any charity bullshit or anything like that. I'm going to know exactly where this money's going. because these people are getting fucked in the ass, to be blunt.
Royally.
And they've seen absolutely no relief right now. So if you can, and if you want to talk with me and get something set up where you're just donating directly to Kat, I think Kat, if you've got your GoFundMe, text it to me and I'll plug it here. You can so you can get the shirt. I'll plug her GoFundMe. These people deserve some fucking help after the shit they've been through, and honestly, we're doing more right now than the government's probably going to do within the next 5 years for these people. So, yeah, I will do that, Farron. You guys can go ahead and continue, and I'll take care of some of this this plugging stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Table with you one more time.
Sure.
Okay, so the derailment was Friday, right?
Correct.
And then you guys didn't get a clear evac warning or order until Sunday afternoon.
Right. We were initially evacuated that night, and then it was very the fire is under control kind of thing. So we came back home.
Hold on,
And
Farron's
then
saying that
we
she
were
can't hear.
evacuated, Sunday morning.
Yeah, the volume is low. I don't know if you
And
can
you went to the high
increase it. I've just been.
And we went to
kind
the
of
high
dealing with
school,
it
to the
nice and
Red Cross
carefully.
station, the Red Cross shelter that they had set up there. And then we evacuated from town altogether that night due to the catastrophic failure announcement.
And how long were you out of town?
We didn't come back
Oh,
until, so we left, Sunday night?
Mm-hmm.
And we did not come back until the following Friday. So we were there almost 2 weeks, just short of 2. I think it was like 11 days.
And when did they give the all clear?
They gave the all clear at 3:00 on that Wednesday. The Wednesday after
the week you came back.
What's that?
The Wednesday the week that you came back.
No, the week before.
Okay, so the Wednesday, as in 3 days after you left.
Correct.
Okay. But from I'm guessing what everyone you've talked to and what they experienced, the all clear probably should not have been given.
It should not have been given. And we were told in no uncertain terms the hotel that we were staying at was one of the hotels that the railroad company was using for their clear up crew. So the railroad workers were in our hotel. So we were getting information that we probably shouldn't have had those first few days. And that was what kind of made us feel like we should not go back right away. And one of the railroad workers there, we were down eating in the restaurant in the hotel. He said the reason it was lifted was because you cannot legally run a train through a town that is evacuated. And they were losing millions of dollars a day not running those trains. And so...
Did I hear that right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, honestly, are you surprised though?
No, but it just... Is water cold when it gets thrown in your face? No, but it has to happen sometimes for you to realize water is cold when it gets thrown in your face.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. The beginning of this interview was the most cheerful moment.
Oh my God. They can't run their trains because there's an evacuation order and they're losing millions of dollars. My God, we've got to lift that evacuation. Oh my God. All right, continuing.
So the burn, the evacuation list, everything was done in the pursuit of the golden dollar.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's absolutely shitty.
Mm.
That is horrendous.
It just really makes you know what your life is worth.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
It kind of puts things in perspective with how the government and these corporations who they've deemed as people actually feel about you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it really does. It really does. That's why it doesn't matter who visits. Like, I've had interviews with people. I've been next to Buttigieg and Trump and Rudy Giuliani and several other senators and people. Like I've shook hands accidentally with people that I didn't even realize were in town. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I appreciate that you're here kind of giving some awareness, but like, what are you actually doing to help other than lining your pocket? Because that's really, it's either political or for their own gain. Like there's very, very few, I'm not saying there's none, I just maybe haven't met them, but there's very, very few people that are here just out of the goodness of their heart wanting to help us. And I feel like that's kind of the federal place, I feel. And just because our houses weren't completely blown up, they were, they're calling us Chernobyl 2.0 because of what they've done to us. But because they're still standing, we don't qualify for any sort of assistance.
Yeah, which is
wonderful.
I was just thinking the sad part is that had the houses been blown up, maybe you could have gotten some response.
Right. Because then there's damage, but
insurance companies can catch in on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so many of my neighbors that own homes, we're renting right now. We were waiting for like the perfect house. Well, that's not going to happen now. So we're still renting. So like, nothing is covering us. But some of the people that do own homes have been very much denied any sort of help for anything. We're still, a lot of the business owners in town are still waiting for the insurance adjusters to even like get back with them because they don't know, because no one's ever dealt with this before. Yeah. This is not a standard, we don't just look it up in the book. It's not really something that happens. So like, what do you do? And when faced with that, I'm not sure very many companies are going to do the right thing if they can get out of it. So
do you feel like as far as between Trump or Buttigieg that really it was just the same thing? Because the first guy I talked to, he said that before Trump came, like everyone was pretty down in the dumps, and at least he came and interacted, and people felt like at least they mattered to someone. And then when Buttigieg came, it was more like by the numbers. He went and saw the trains for a minute, met with the people in power, and then he was gone. Yes.
The only reason I even saw him was because he was like coming through town. So, he didn't say anything or have a meeting. I actually saw I wouldn't say a friend, but one of the journalists that are here in town that I've had several conversations with. She's freelance, but I think most of her stuff, I've been on Fox News a few times, and she actually showed me a clip of her trying to speak to him.
Was it Vanna Hernandez?
I believe so. And then he was like, talk to my, press secretary or whatever. And she comes out and she's like, yeah, but no cameras. But how is that transparent? How is that in any way helpful that you can't even say it on camera? That doesn't feel like you're being transparent or honest or anything like that. Like,
what is it you don't want these people to hear?
That's it. And not even that, but like, why is it? Because I saw that that our wonderful governor he had been on the clip. I don't know if you've seen that too, where he was at the press conference and he was like, "Oh yeah, Biden called me, but I haven't returned that call." And then a reporter that's here in town was like, Biden has reached out, and you replied that you did not even return the call, and he was like, "I never said that." And then it interfaces with like the clip of him literally saying that at a press conference.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't even lie convincingly because we have proof. So, is that why you don't want to be on camera? Because then we can catch you in these lies that you're spewing, or what?
Well, and I've heard that Biden's already said he doesn't plan to come anyway.
Correct. I did read that in several articles today that he has no plans of coming. And is it because it's mostly a red town? I don't know.
But a lot of people are speculating that, and
yes,
it is ironic that it takes Donald Trump visiting before you get a response from anyone who's in charge of the Department of Transportation.
Yes, he didn't even put out a statement until after Trump's visit, and I know for a fact that several people have reached out to him about it, and just saying like, why aren't you even saying anything about it? And he was like, "Well, I'm on maternity leave," or something like that.
Okay,
So
can you pause that a second?
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that
God, yes, I'll be glad to.
And
God
she
almighty.
is 1000% correct, because for 2 weeks everyone was like, "Where the hell is Pete Buttigieg?"
Yep.
If not
Yeah.
Biden, fine. He's off getting on his knees for Zelensky and getting his 10% for the big guy. But at bare minimum, the Secretary of Transportation should be there on his knees, giving these people anything they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It just, my God.
Yeah, this is a shit show, man.
Oh, on so many levels. Just
And
on so many levels.
Yeah, let's go, Brandon. Like, they're pissing in your face and saying it's rain.
Yeah. And that analogy is not too far from the truth in what's happening in there.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Mhm.
I just don't. I jokingly call Pete Buttigieg Secretary Alfred E. Newman. You know what? Alfred E. Newman looks like a Nobel Prize winner compared to Buttigieg at this point. I mean, and I'm not even. This is past politics now. It's past Democrat, Republican. It's past red, blue. Forget it. This is just basic competency and human decency. Okay, forget everything else. That's what we're down to, and no one seems to be able to do that well enough to help these people.
No, and like I said, they're trying to memory hold this. They don't want anyone to hear about it anymore because they know the absolute literal flaming pile of shit this is.
Oh yeah.
Got the Voice of the People sent me a link to the preliminary report from the NTSB, which we can go over later.
Yeah,
Depending on how long this goes.
I think
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think there's like 30 minutes left, and then I wanted to get Kat on if we could.
Yeah, I want to do that first. So if we have time to go over some of these other documents, we can. But if not, we can share it later, another time.
Okay. Hitting the start button.
That many people in power, when terrible tragedies have happened, have kind of taken a break from whatever vacation they're on to at least make a statement. But I guess that's not how we roll here.
Well, the president is busy giving our tax money to Ukraine. So.
Yes. It's hard. It's like I said, it's a mostly Republican town. There's many Trump flags all over the place. Nonstop. It doesn't matter what season it is. But not everyone. And then there's some people like me that are, I'm pretty independent. My voting record is very, very independent. I think some people have good points and some people are just complete morons, but I don't feel like this is a political issue. I thought that we were all Americans, And it shouldn't be, like they are said, well, you voted for him. So like,
Yeah, that's where they get you. You think one side actually cares about you, and then you find out for sure. Because
and then we don't, we don't matter.
I'm with you. Like 95% of both sides are useless jackasses.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the few people on both sides who actually seem to give a damn can never get anywhere.
Oh no, because they're completely outvoted and outgunned. So
Yeah, or they get lobbied, or there's some underhanded tactic that keeps them from being relevant, or they lose committee assignments or something. It's all a big, disgusting mess. And
it's a show. And honestly, I don't even believe in the two-party system. I don't think that there's a one side or the other, because I think they're all in it together. And they're just fighting. Yeah, they're just fighting but they all are paid by the same companies. You know what I mean? Like they all get lobbied by the same dirty money. So, it's just a circus show. It doesn't really matter what side you're on. But when they use that excuse for not helping people that are in very, very, very real need of help, it does get a bit.
It takes on a whole new level of depravity.
It does, honestly, it really does, and I think that next voting cycle, I'm going to be spewing a lot of anger when it comes out. There's going to be a lot of anger voting, I think.
Yeah.
Which probably shouldn't be the way it works, but it's going to happen.
This is exactly why I think people need to be hammering this story until the day, 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. It really does. And the sad part is that aside from actual federal help, there's really no recourse for us to get help, because if you look at the median income, I think it's around $50,000 for the families here, right? And there's a lot that are a lot less. These people do not have the funds. We don't even have the funds, and we're healthy median income. But when you have no income, I mean, we're still paycheck to paycheck, basically. And I've never started a GoFundMe before in my life, and you better believe I started one now, because what else are you going to do? Like, you feel like that's your last ditch effort of like, maybe someone will take pity on us and get us out of here. But in reality, like, that's not even feasible. I've seen a lot of scammers with different funding pages, and some of them have like over $100,000, and you're wondering, like, I've never heard of this person. I don't know who this person's associated with. Is that even legit? Are they actually helping us? And so you're inundated with that too. So
I actually, since I run a merch shop, I actually made a shirt, and I'm trying to get people to buy it, and because I want to send the profit from the shirt to you guys. And some of you guys up there might like it, because have you seen Anchorman?
Oh, of course.
So you remember how Ron got in a lot of trouble for reading the teleprompter too precisely?
Yes.
So I photoshopped Pete Buttigieg's face onto Ron, and it says, "Go fuck yourself, Ohio."
That's one I would buy. I've stayed away from most of these because I don't feel very bulldog strong right now, but that's one I would buy.
Yeah, because I feel that seems to be the sentiment.
That it is. It really is.
They don't care unless they can gain something out of it.
Right. And and I have kind of two minds of, like, even the Trump visit, right? Like, I do feel like it was politically motivated, obviously, because that means he's coming and Biden's not, right? So that definitely makes him look good. But at the same time, it got attention.
Yeah.
It got attention.
Yep.
And so, whatever was in it for him, it was mutually beneficial at that point, and it did pump a lot of people up, because, my husband went down there. It was raining, so I couldn't be out there with my, bronchitis and everything. But my husband went down there, and, there's people just lining the streets, and it just gave something to a lot of these people that we have not felt since this happened. And it's been really depressing. And like I said, I feel like it's starting to reach a boiling point, because there's kind of two schools of people right now. There's the people in town that feel like we should just get over it and carry on as usual. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those people live outside the zone. And then there's the people that are just terrified. We're just terrified. We don't know what to do. We don't want to go, but most of us have children. How would you feel about yourself if you knowingly stayed in a place that could cause cancer?
Yeah.
And your child 10 years down the road develops cancer from this. That would not make you feel like a good parent at all.
That's one thing that I think people are completely glossing over, is because my thought is the people who aren't raising a lot of hell about this is most people are good people, and they don't want to make a fuss, and they feel dirty for going after people for money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they knew in 10 years, once they see some fallout from this, they're going to wish mm-hmm. that they had raised the ruckus and demanded something be done about it. But I feel like since no one's seeing immediate devastation to loved ones and family members,
right,
they're just they kind of sweep it under the rug. And that's a very, very, very harsh lesson to learn if it comes, and I hope it does not.
And honestly, I thought that we would have learned that lesson from 9/11.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I really do. And when I was talking to Rudy Giuliani about this, he was even saying, this isn't something that we were even really aware of at the time, but you have to pay attention, because these toxins are more deadly than the fallout from 9/11. Mm-hmm. And we're just expected to just move right on with our lives.
And I'm willing to bet that the concentration levels are night and day compared to 9/11 as well.
Yeah. And not to compare to something, because they were both disasters, but not to say, oh, mine's worse than yours kind of thing or anything like that. But 9/11 was such a, everyone remembers 9/11. Everyone knows about 9/11. It's and we're barely on the news anymore. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Not to be that way, but like, if the outside professionals are saying that this is just as bad, if not worse, it just didn't do property damage. It wasn't as compelling as like an airplane flying into a building, obviously, but
there weren't as many immediate deaths.
Right. The fallout of it is just as devastating. And because it's, quiet, it's not as compelling. It's not, worth the news. It's not,
That's exactly how I feel about it too. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
In a very, very dark way. It is very disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's many, many, many of us that feel that same way. So I don't know. Hopefully we can just keep spreading the word. I never thought I would be one that does interviews or be on the news or anything like that. And I've some of my friends and family that, live even outside of the country. Some of them are in England and stuff, and they're like, "We saw you on a news clip," and I'm like, "What? I didn't even know I was on the news."
Yeah, I'll have to look up some of the clips so I can show everyone who I did the interview with tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
That way everybody's got a good visual that, hey, this is a living person, and this is the shit they're going through.
Yeah, it's frightening, and we aren't born locals. We transplanted here like 7 years ago, but We made this our home. Our kids, graduated high school through here. This is home. And yeah, it's just, and my very first grandchild was born during all of this. Too. Thank God she lives in Hawaii. Thank God she lives in Hawaii. But now I'm like, I can't even ask her to come see me. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
I'm not going to bring a baby here.
No,
So,
I wouldn't.
so this is just even more, devastation on top of that. And I don't really have the ability to fly to Hawaii right this second because I've got to, man the station here, with things. So it's just really screwed up a whole lot of, our lives.
Well, one of my questions for you was how you feel about the future, but I'm guessing it's pretty bleak.
It is, unfortunately. And there is nothing more that I would say, love to say, like, I came home, I deep cleaned my house, I helped my neighbors, and we're pulling together, and we're just, ready for the future. But when it comes to something as awful as these toxins, you can't do that. You just really cannot do that because it's not over.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over. So, because
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, like, we've seen all of these people on our, we call it not outsiders, but, people that don't live here, saying like, I can't even imagine what you're going through because we just, like, we came to bring you water bottles, right? And now I have a blistering migraine. I can't breathe. My throat is swollen. I might have to go to the doctor. And they were here for just 2 hours, and you see that everywhere, people saying the exact same thing, just minimal time here. So imagine living in it. Imagine not being able to leave. Our whole livelihoods are here, our work, our job, our homes, everything. We don't have anywhere to go. So
who do you feel is really the overall responsible party for this? I'm guessing. Do you think it's more Norfolk Southern, or?
Well, I mean, there's a whole list of people that are like minimally responsible for it, right? So like they all have their hands in it. Norfolk Southern, if you read the NTSB reports, and we saw videos of it after that first day of people, ring cams and stuff catching the train. So the axle or the bearing or whatever was on fire over 20 miles away from our town, right? And there was 3 monitoring stations that when trains go over, they register the temperature, and there's 3 of them between where it was first reported and here. Okay, so we don't know if like the conductor was told about it. We don't know if the railroad company said, keep going, try to make it to, the destination, which is not that far from here. Just keep going, try to, like when you have a flat tire, you try to make it home, right? You know what I mean? Like, if that's what happened, we don't know that. But we do know the facts that it was on fire 20 miles away from where we are. We do know that there are 3 monitoring stations. We also know that, it's proven factual that Trump rolled back a lot of Obama era safety measures for the railroad company. We do know that. Did that play hands in it? We don't know. Also, the Biden administration has had 2 years, if that was a factor, to put those back into effect. They have denied doing that, including, the railroad, they were on strike for unsafe conditions and unsafe working places. And Biden said, poo-poo to that and get back to work. So who's more at fault? the person who rolled it back or the person who wouldn't put it back in place and made it impossible for things to be safer. We don't know.
Mhm.
We don't, obviously I think in the end, Norfolk Southern is going to be the one holding the bag for it, whether or not they intentionally pushed the safety limits to that eventually, left, like caused the derailment. I don't know if we'll ever get an answer. I mean, I feel like if I was that company, I'd, erase those tapes as soon as I could. So we don't know if we'll ever get an answer on that, but
Yeah, I feel like.
but I think they're all responsible.
I feel like it's going to be one of those we're never going to know the full truth until like 20 or 30 years later.
Right. Right.
Unless
So
people get agitated enough and they demand answers and people actually start covering this like they should.
mhm. Yeah.
That's why I think independent media is one of the most important things.
Oh, for sure.
Today.
For sure. I feel like, especially like with the first few nights when we were getting actual information, the only place that you could find videos of the axle being on fire was on TikTok. Everyone was sharing TikTok videos, and the only real answers, I forget his name. He's an amazing creator that has helped us through so much on TikTok. Nick, I don't remember his name. I'm so sorry, but he's the only one that's been giving straightforward, honest, educated answers of Nick Grom. His name is Nick Grom. He's been the only source of information that we had for weeks and weeks and weeks, really breaking down what this is, why you should be worried, why you shouldn't panic, why you should do this, why you shouldn't do that. And it's been amazing. I don't know how we would have gotten through a lot of it without some of that help. So
I think I actually saw a short of his earlier today.
I'm sure, because he's kind of a celebrity here. Like if he came and visited, I'd definitely shake his hand, but like, everyone else, maybe not so much. And he's not even really famous. So, so, we do appreciate the people that are really helping and putting things out there.
The list of people that I value actually getting a chance to meet now it's so far away from Hollywood and mainstream stuff. It's ridiculous. Like,
yes,
one of the people that I would absolutely love to meet is Jimmy Dore, and politically we align on not a lot, but
right.
He's one of the most important voices in media right now, because he calls out the bullshit and he doesn't let either side slide on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Independent media is it's essential right now. Like
invaluable, absolutely invaluable, which, I've always appreciated before, especially when we're in political times, like really getting things out. But right now, kudos to every single person that's trying to elevate our voices, because it's
yeah, absolutely,
it's important, very important.
I wish we had this era's technology with the 80s and 90s era community.
Right.
I feel like we would get so much more done.
It would have changed history, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, because nobody's getting away with anything nowadays. No. Everyone's getting held accountable.
But now everybody's complacent and they don't want to do anything about it.
Exactly.
So I guess the only thing I haven't asked that I was really curious about was what you've noticed since everything's happened, like as far as the environment. Like, the guy I talked to earlier or yesterday, he said it like whenever they did that controlled burn, quote unquote, that the town was completely enveloped in a black fog.
It was like a haze, and we weren't here, we weren't here in town, but you could see it on all the videos. My my husband's car, when he would come back from cleaning days later, it's burned the paint off of our car, so that's a complete loss. I think the biggest, other than, you know, like the smells that you smell, like everything smells wrong. Even if it's fine, it smells wrong, you know?
Yeah.
I burn a lot of incense and stuff in the house, and the Wildberry, which shout out to them because they sent me a big free order of incense after I told them what had happened. But like even burning that, it smells wrong. It doesn't smell like it's supposed to. So that's a huge thing. Like everything just smells wrong. But the most heartbreaking thing, I think, is the animals. The animals are a big thing. Living right off the creek the way that we do, you know, I've got security cameras everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And so our back security camera, we have our trash can back there. And one of my favorite things in the world was watching the local stray cat and raccoon population work together to try and get the trash out of my can, right? So I've got multiple videos of like this. I called her Big Sally. She's a huge raccoon. I mean, just like chunk-a-monk. And she would waddle up there and get in the trash can and start dumping things down to the local stray cat. The cats would carry it over to our neighbor's porch. And the cats and the raccoons would have a smorgasbord every night, right? It was the cutest thing. They're just ridiculous. And then, you know, in the spring, they had their babies there. I just loved it. It was like my little raccoon family.
You're going to tell me something very sad, aren't you?
I am. I'm about to tell you something. There's only 2 cats that are alive still, and they're very sick. They look very ill. It feels neurological because they walk like they're drunk. It looks like they're drunk. Everything else is gone. They're all gone. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I heard was people who have chickens, they're gone.
Yes. People are finding dead birds where there shouldn't be dead birds. We had someone posted a video. It was the day Trump visited. It was like right before that happened. Of a raccoon, which, as I'm sure you know, they're very nocturnal animals. They're not out during the day. And he looked terrible, absolutely terrible. He looked like someone had stuck him in a washing machine and just, you know, left him there. He was standing out in the middle of the day in someone's yard, looking completely dazed, barely walking. I mean, he just looked like he was in his final moments, just walking around. So clearly not safe for these animals.
I hate to ask this. How do you know the raccoons and the other cats didn't make it?
Okay, so this is pretty awful. There's workers. I'm not sure who they are. Okay, the ones that are doing the what do you call it? The creek, right? So they're the ones that are out there cleaning the creek, and at night you can watch them pick up all of the expired animals and put them in trash bags because what you call it? For my bedroom window is elevated. I'm in the second story and I'm overlooking the creek, and we have watched them several times quietly dispose of anything that might not look good. So, yeah. Tried to get pictures, but you can't really tell what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really tell, but it was watching it. You could very much see what was happening.
Yeah.
So.
And they're not exactly going to flaunt that during the day.
Oh, they're not. No, they waited until night because I know when you just drive down the road, you can see like cat bodies and stuff, like even on the side of the road, and they're not all getting hit by vehicles.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the things that the guy I talked to yesterday said as well. He said when he came back, he lives outside of the evacuation zone, and
mm-hmm.
he said when he came back, he was giving his dog water out of the tap like usual, and after a few days, the dog got sick. He was throwing up everywhere, acting drunk, like you were saying, like wasn't moving much,
mm-hmm.
very lethargic, couldn't hardly walk
mm-hmm.
straight. And he switched him to bottled water, and he was fine.
Yeah.
And it's scary to think that they're telling people that the water's okay now.
Yeah, that everything's safe, everything's fine.
Yeah. that reeks of the corporation trying to cover their ass for the immediate avoidance of financial ruin.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just for that bottom line. So.
Wow. Kat, I appreciate it a whole lot. I sent you a picture of the shirt. If you like it, and like I said, anyone who gets one, I'm sending all the profit to. I'll contact you.
Okay.
You can tell me where the money would be best served to go.
Okay, because there are different charities here. We've got like social concerns and the way station and stuff, and
that's yeah. We just talk about where to send the money after that. So yeah. What thoughts on that travesty?
Unbelievable. Just those. I mean, she mentioned that there were two schools of thought that people had, and one of them was, hey, we'll just get through this. We'll get over it. Things will go back to normal. To that group of people, I got a message for you. I'm sorry, you will never have normal again.
No,
there's no putting the genie back in the bottle on this one. Forget it. There's no going back to normal. Your lives are never going to be the same again.
No, not at all.
So it's time to start thinking about, I mean, after getting past the emotion of it, it's time to start thinking, okay, what do we need to do for ourselves individually? What do we need to do for our families corporately? What do we need to do for our town? Because East Palestine, Ohio is never going to be the same again.
Yep.
Never.
Kat, are you still in here? If you're still in here, let me know. I'll send you a link. That way we can get some input from you, and if these guys got some questions for you, if the chat has any questions for you. Okay, I'll send you a link. Check your Facebook, and I'll send you the link there. Yes, that's old fogies using Facebook.
Keep talking, fellas. I'll be right back.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, like after I talked to Kat today, I was pissed. Like, these people are going through literal hell in their hometown, and their lives have been completely turned upside down, and they've got nothing. They're getting nothing. And right now it seems like it's just a big game of grab ass between Norfolk Southern and the government as to who's going to be holding the bag at the end of it.
I'm not even sure that they're trying to pass off the bag on each other. I think they're just trying to get away with it entirely.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not sure if I'm doing this right here.
Hello.
You are. Your camera stopped working though.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
There
there
we
it
go.
goes.
Evac? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
There we go.
this is Kat Smith. She
Hello.
is the resident of East Palestine, Ohio, who we just heard that long interview from.
Very long. It was even longer than I remembered. So
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was that long when we were talking at all.
yeah. I get
I love that hoodie, by the way.
So give everyone a quick run, like how I know you guys had the Aaron Brockovich thing yesterday. Like how are things going as far as the community today? Is it improving any at all as far as spirits?
I honestly, I don't think so. The Aaron Brockovich, the meeting that they had, right? So they brought in a bunch of experts, and they had some lawyers, some chemists, different things like that, and they basically did just like a huge PowerPoint thing for it, right? And they were really honest. I don't feel like they were trying to do scare tactics or anything like that, but it was very honest about a lot of things that have been glossed over by the media or, the NTSB and the EPA and everybody else. So I feel like today people are processing, because maybe some of the people that thought everything was going to be fine now understand what the rest of us have been saying, that it's just not all going to be fine. And so in that way, I feel like the tone has changed a bit. And like I said, today there was that fist fight in the middle of town. I don't even know what to think about that. That was just insane. But it feels like people are not doing better today. They're just more of a, well, shit, guys, like, what are we going to do? Because I think maybe it's sinking in that things just aren't going to be all peachy keen after this. So,
Yeah, I think it's almost like the 12-step process. It's like, the first thing is admitting there's a big fucking problem.
Right. And I think a lot of people are still a few steps behind the rest of us, of just like, we went into one of the local diners today to have brunch, and there's this table, we call it the good old boy table, right? Because the same people for years and years and years been going there. It's changed like 14 hands, right? The owner's been like 14 times. The same people still sitting at that table, right? And so those guys were in there, of course, and they're just like, yeah, well, people just need to stop whining. We just need to stop whining. They just need to get back to work. And they're like that boomer bootstrap era of like, everything's going to be fine. You just need to stop whining about it. And as they're saying that, one of the guys starts losing a lung, and it's like, really? We need to just get back to where that's going? Because that feels a little sus of like what you're dealing with right now. So
yeah, like I understand putting forth some hard work and dedication to solving some problems. That's not going to help you a damn bit when it comes to chemical and toxin exposures.
No.
And if it's about putting the hard work in as far as like cleaning your house, super. Tell us how to do it. Because initially they were saying on the news, dilute some bleach in water. And then they're like, oh, wait, don't do that. That creates mustard gas. So Lord knows how many people made mustard gas in their house before we even had, any sort of guidance on, now they're just saying, well, just Dawn. How about just Dawn? We're just going to use Dawn to get rid of chemical fallout. We're just going to put Dawn on it.
And that's one thing I thought about whenever you were going back over how they were testing the air. Like the stuff's already settled. It's not in the air in the houses anymore or anything like that.
Of course they're not going to find anything. No, it's settled. And I think I sent you some pictures of like my neighbor's house when they were cleaning. And it looks just like we were next to a house fire or something. It's
voice is saying, do not put Dawn on these chemicals. And I'm guessing there's some kind of interaction that he may know about that
Lord, and this
Yeah.
is what we're talking. This is exactly what we're talking about too. Because
Yeah, what do you
know,
do?
you don't put bleach. You don't put. And what we had heard and what we were doing was everyone was saying because the toxins were acidic, right? Because it's like acidic, baking soda and water, right? So that's what we used because logic kind of says maybe that's what would work or what would help. I don't know. And then like activated charcoal on things and in our vents and stuff like that, trying to catch any, because I know that helps with VOCs, from what I understand. So if there's any of those still in the air, maybe that would help. But there's no real guidance, no real word on anything. The only thing that they put out, I remember this, when the governor was talking and they were talking about, we're going to post like the safe home guidelines, right? Look, how to be safe at home, right? And we're like, okay, good. We're going to have some guidance here, right? No, it was just what street to use to avoid the closures because the other roads were still closed. That's it. It was just use this road, not this road. Here's a detour. No guidance whatsoever about anything. So thank you for the map quest.
Yeah. So where are you at right now? Are you back at home?
No, I'm actually over at my shop. The owner of the building here, it's inside another store, and we came over for a wine night to listen to the podcast and everything. So we're actually over here in my shop.
Well, hopefully we did you guys a little bit of justice, even if it was a smaller audience. But yeah.
Hey, listen, every little bit helps. Every little bit counts. It's, we're doing everything that we can just to not be forgotten, because it feels like that's really what they want to do. They just want it. It's not sensational. So, slowly, my husband said, we're not dying quick. We're just slowly zipping up the body bag. And that's not as much of a fun show. So,
yeah. Well, and whenever you've got a massive corporate interest with the Norfolk Southern,
to keep it quiet,
the government doesn't want to get involved because they don't want to have to spend money on somebody else's fuck up or.
Yeah. And when
weird because they're so good about spending our money, but where does all that money go? Right? Trillions of dollars. Where does it go?
Airplane bailouts and the important
bank bailouts, housing markets bailout. Yeah.
Kat, you had said that you weren't originally from East Palestine, Ohio. What brought you and your family there?
Okay, so this is really a funny thing. So, growing up, my family moved to every couple of years. We were nomads. My father was a preacher, and so we were constantly moving, doing things. So we didn't really. I didn't have I was born in Florida, but we never lived long in a state. It was always all over the country. And so for me, it was just the normal to move around a lot. And when I met my husband, his family, I was living in Georgia at the time. My kids were born in Georgia, and so that was just kind of home base for the time, as it were. I was living in Georgia. He lived in Ohio. We met through mutual friends and stuff. So he moved to Georgia when we got together and were engaged and stuff like that. But I don't really have family, and he had some family up here in Ohio because this is where he lived most of his life, in this area. And so when we were planning to move back so he could be closer to his family, his siblings had started having babies and stuff, so we were just kind of wanting to be a little bit closer to some family. So I went on Google Earth, right? So we knew the area that his family lived in and everything. And I went on Google Earth and I just started looking at small towns, right? So just scoping it out, see which one kind of looked the cutest. And this town, I don't know if you've seen any pictures or videos of like downtown or anything like that. We've got really beautiful old buildings. Like most of the buildings are, you know, over 100 years old. And on the side of the buildings, there's like beautiful murals. The storefronts are gorgeous. You know, most of the old buildings here have like apartments above them. I mean, it's just really quaint looking, right? And on the sidewalk, there's, you know, because like we're the Bulldogs, right? Like that's our school team, right?
Got a high school in town?
Yeah, we have
Okay.
high school, middle school, elementary, all of that. So the high school football team, the Bulldogs, right? On the sidewalk, all through town, are these big paw prints.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So it looked so stinking cute. It was just the quaintest little downtown. And it had everything you needed. You know, it had a little doctor's office and a grocery store and everything. So you know, you weren't out in the boonies still. And it had these really adorable little, you know, mom and pop shops and diners and stuff. I was like, that town, I want that town. That's my town. And we found a place and moved here. A few years later, I, you know, opened a business with my friend had a business. I moved in and started, you know, building it and moved, you know, well, I was, before all of this debacle, was in the process of moving to my own building. You know, we were just building a life here. And my kids graduated high school here. They, you know, have lifelong friends, everyone here. This is home now. You know, we made this home. And it's devastating, like more so than just like a house or a place or anything. It's, you know, like I said, when we went to the diner for brunch today, a lot of my friends, you know, we've kept in touch, all of my friends in town, you know, because when you own a business, you meet a lot of people, a lot of people in town, especially in a small town. And we, you know, you keep in touch on Facebook and you ask, you know, like, did you get out? Are you okay? You know, yada, yada. But I haven't gotten to see, because we're still closed, I haven't got to see these people in 3 weeks now. And I went to the diner and like, it just so happened that like all of my friends are coming in at the same time. And and I'm just like so overwhelmed by just the relief of seeing them and knowing they're okay and everything like that. But also, when I sat back down, I was like, shit, like if we move away, I don't get this anymore. I don't get the see you at the diner on an accident or in the grocery store or things like that. Like I lose all of it. But you know, at the same time, like your health or happiness, and you're choosing one or the other at this point. So
yeah, I've done a lot of drives up Ohio 7, which runs right along the Ohio River, and the town you're describing, I could just name. I mean, you could drive through any of them, and what you're describing is exactly what I see every time I drive up and down Ohio 7. Along the Ohio River. You've got these wonderful little communities. The diner you're describing, let me take a guess as to the guys. These are probably older gentlemen of salt and pepper hair with a lot less pepper and a whole lot more salt in their hair these days. Probably a bunch of retirees used to work at some big factories, either in town or in the surrounding area. They usually get together in the mornings. They're having breakfast or they're having brunch. And I mean, in my area, we call them Romeos, which is short for, well, it's short for retired old men eating out.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. And then in Georgia, they were the good old boys. You know, because you knew them. You knew them. There's the good old boys. They're the ones that are still around and have lived here since birth. And
and they're talking about the high school football game on Friday night, that Saturday morning in the diner. Like, I can't believe that kid fumbled the ball. Or
so-and-so's grandson saw him walking down and he's a dumbass and he needs to cut his hair and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty classic. I mean, you stereotype it as hard as you want and you're there. So
oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, and it's just, my heart breaks for y'all. I mean, seriously. I mean, I've known about this issue. I've read about articles about it, but until you hear your interview, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
It's
it
just,
kind of humanizes it a little bit, I
yeah,
think.
it really does. It
Yeah,
really
and
does.
yeah, I think that's a big reason that the story's kind of getting swept. Like people aren't taking the time to see what's actually going on and trying to. I
Right.
think it's a lot of what's wrong with society in general today. People don't try to put themselves in other people's shoes.
Well,
Yeah.
And
it you get desensitized, I think, because now we do have like the ability to watch live coverage of like the war in Ukraine or bombings or whatever, and you see that so much now, and if it's not sensational, it doesn't hold your attention.
mm,
If it's not big and fiery, you know it's oh, that's interesting, and then move on. But
This seemed pretty big and fiery to me.
oh yeah, for a few days we were. Now we're just quietly suffering. So when the videos came out at first with the fish dying and stuff, you always get like a little boost of like when something horrible happens. Well, like I don't want the next horrible happening. I just want some help. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering
Yeah.
about like other downstream effects of this as well because of all the groundwater and just the waterways getting
when
contaminated. Like
right.
what farmlands are downstream from where you're at?
Oh, everything. It's all the way down to the Ohio River, which feeds into the Mississippi, which feeds into the Gulf.
Yeah.
So there's no telling how far reaching this will be. I do know in the early days, other townships downstream from us were reporting their testing results, right? So like we checked this, we checked that, it's safe or it's not safe, whatever. And there were reports from I think 2 different towns. I believe 2 different towns. Don't hold me to it, but I know at least one did detect vinyl chloride in their water.
Oh crap.
Now it was like the raw intake water, but that's still in your system. It's still there, I don't remember exactly what town. It may have been Steubenville. I believe it was Steubenville. You may have to Google and see if you can find it, but they were posting the reports, like people in that area would post it on our private Facebook pages and stuff like that. So that's really how we're getting a lot of our information. But it was detected in other towns downstream from us already. So
at this point, after everything that's happened, is the state of Ohio and the feds waiting to see what Norfolk Southern is going to try to do, if they're going to do anything to rectify this, or are they saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, or is no one saying jack crap at this point
okay,
about what they're
so
going to do?
right. Initially, right, the EPA was in cahoots with Norfolk Southern as far as like the cleanup, right?
Okay.
Well, they were, they couldn't take off a lot of the rail cars until the NTSB had investigated, done the reports and stuff like that. So they were all just sitting there at the wreckage, right?
Okay.
And they had just covered up the dirt. They dug this huge trench to put the chemicals in to burn off, right? Well, they just covered that up. They had at what they call it, not the NTSB. It 7 and 14. It's a big parking lot out there.
Mm-hmm.
And before the evacuation had been lifted, there were hundreds of trucks with bulldozers, trucks with rails to rebuild the railway, trucks with gravel, waiting for the signal to get in there. But clearly they were given the signal to go in before we were, because literally 8 minutes after the evacuation was officially lifted, trains were going through on finished track.
Fires were burning.
So
while fires were burning still.
Yeah, there was still residual fires burning. They had just pushed them off to the side and put the trains through. So now what I understand, there was another press conference that had Ohio EPA, federal EPA, a few other alphabet soups that were in there. I'm not really sure who all was there, but it was all of the like big importance, right?
Have you seen any
So
sign of the
they
Corps of
were-
Engineers by any chance?
I do not believe so. I have not heard of anyone speaking or anyone making a statement or anything like that.
The Corps of Engineers has jurisdiction over the Clean Water Act.
No.
And so the fact that they're not getting engaged in this is
Right. That is interesting. I wasn't
extreme
sure.
dereliction of duty. You know, I worked for them for like 7 years, so I'm pretty well aware of their
Right. We
responsibilities.
no one that I have spoke to and no one that or me personally, I have not heard of them being involved in any way. So I may be wrong, but I have not personally heard of them being there. But from what I understand, there was a 4:00 press conference with all of the different alphabet soups that are involved, and they were saying that they have paused the cleanup because they said something about not that NS was doing anything wrong, but we just want to kind of double check what they're doing. Well, apparently they were doing something wrong. They just don't want to admit it because there's been other people hearing that they're just dumping the waste in Michigan, I believe.
In Texas.
Michigan and Texas.
Texas and Michigan, yeah.
Yeah. And some of it was done improperly. Now, what I can tell you about the cleanup that we have witnessed ourselves here. So we have seen there might be another fist fight in the street out.
Somebody driving down the street yelling at the camera.
Good grief. Yeah, so tensions are high in town still, even right now. But one thing that we did notice was at the beginning when they were starting to take some of the dirt from the site, they were doing it in, like loader trucks. They were not even covered. So they didn't even have like, the tarp covering for it, right? None of that. And the dirt was just blowing out onto the streets. And then they would send out the street sweepers to just blow it all over the cars and stuff. And so the people who had like paid to get their houses pressure washed, to get all this grime and stuff off of their houses, were waking up in the mornings covered in this toxic waste dirt. So the mayor did put out, he started a personal, not a personal, but it's like updates from the mayor kind of Facebook page, and he announced that, okay, he talked to Norfolk. They're not going to do that anymore, guys. We don't have to worry about that. But yet we had endured like a week of toxic dirt on every one of our roads with no one giving a shit about it. So,
Jesus.
It's just been, like me and my friends say, we're living in a circus, but there's no fun, happy time at the end. It's just,
you're
continuing farce.
You're waiting to see what worse stuff develops.
Yeah. It's like every day. It's just like every day you learn something else that's just gut wrenching and horrible. And you're like, oh, sweet. Like that's cool. Exciting. I'm glad that we know that, but
yeah, lips feel like we just lifted 9-volt battery.
Yeah.
All the time.
That never ends. But like, for some reason, I'm not sure exactly like what chemical it is, but our lips, all of our lips, like everyone in town, your lips get really tingly. It's like a constant tingly in your lips. Mm-hmm. All of us have had rashes, things like that. And they're like, no health reports. There's been no one's reported any ill health.
Yeah.
Really? That's the most absurd thing. And they said it again at the meeting at 4:00 today. The CDC was there. I do remember that. That was the woman who said it, because I wanted to jump through my phone and strangle her. And then I was like, where are they doing this? Because I'll drive down there and tell her myself. We couldn't figure it out. It was just some random building. We couldn't figure out where they were.
Well, didn't I hear you or type in chat or say at one point in the interview they weren't even taking vitals at
They
some
were
of these
not even
tents?
taking vitals. Yes. And you can, that's public. Like they put that on the post, right? When they were announcing it, we got excited when we heard that there were going to be health clinics. We were like, thank God we're finally going to get some answers. There's going to be, baselines run and stuff like that. No, there's someone that will, you can talk to and tell them what your problems are. They will not even take your blood pressure, pulse ox, nothing, absolutely nothing.
Are they saying why they're not doing that?
No,
I mean,
we have not heard a reason why.
Sensible tests that show issues could lead to them having to actually look into other things, though.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
they said that they're here to assess the need of the town, health wise, but they do have many psychiatrists on site telling you that it's stress. What you're feeling is stress. The rashes all over your body, that's stress. The way that you can't breathe is psychosomatic. It's just stress. You're feeling stressed.
It's only a matter of time before they start blaming mass hysteria.
Yeah. It's just a psychosomatic
group hallucination.
Group
it's
hallucination.
That's where we're going next. Group hallucination.
Mass
Group
formation psychosis based on the disaster.
Yes, thank God there are enough of us that have gotten these tests run and gotten these reports, because I've heard some people saying that some doctors are refusing completely to even run these tests.
What?
Yeah, they'll say, like, you go up to the hospital. I think Salem Hospital might have been one of them that was refusing outright, saying that we don't even, there's no test that could even check for anything. We're not even entertaining this. So
yeah, I gotta call bullshit on that, because I would almost guarantee that they can do a free radicals test on your blood.
There's a few tests. One of my girlfriends sent me a list to ask for, because I was like, I've done baseline. Like when I was in the hospital, they ran baseline CBCs, chest X-rays, all of that jazz. So I have that baseline of like right after the derailment. So when I progress, when I went to the doctor this last time, and did more chest X-rays and stuff like that, like you can see that my lungs clearly are not functioning correctly right now. Like this is literally the best I've been in 3 weeks, and I'm still, completely congested. But yeah, it's all just psychosomatic. There's nothing wrong, but some super sleuths, some people that don't have a dog in the fight, have sent what specifically to ask for as far as tests go, and what to have them look for. I guess it metabolizes more in the urine, but that's more the acute poisoning, like the initial poisoning. So most of that has passed, other than like the low level exposure that you're getting throughout town. But elevated liver enzymes, which shows that your body is like metabolizing some sort of outside toxin. And then a few other things that are like more specific to the like the dioxin poisoning and stuff. So, we're racking up the doctor bills right now, but you got to do what you got to do to have that. But
yeah, there's absolutely PFAS testing you can get done.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'm sure a lot of the doctors, like, maybe in a non-nefarious way, just didn't know what they were asking for. But I do know, I do have friends that are, nurses, in the local hospitals and stuff, that are saying that, yeah, we definitely do have, even some of them that live here and are sick themselves and are getting these diagnoses themselves for, chemical bronchitis and stuff like that. So you try shutting them up, because nurses don't take any sort of BS like that.
No, they don't.
So, yeah, the doctors might get bought, but the nurses, no chance. So
it would be interesting to see if Norfolk Southern are big donors to these hospitals.
I know that there's a lot of money holes that we've gotten into. A few people posted some things about why we're not seeing a lot of the coverage on like the mainstream NBC, CNN, Fox News, stuff like that. And if you go and look, the people that own Norfolk Southern also own those news companies. So it's a lot of explanation for why we're not seeing a lot there. And it's mostly, you know, independent journalism that we're getting coverage on.
Yeah.
So.
And I think this story should be hammered home and over anything else right now.
Yeah.
We should
I feel
absolutely be focused more on that area than Ukraine.
I do feel like it's the craziest thing going on in the United States right now. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
more people should be concerned about it with the waterways that feed right into the Gulf. So, you know,
Basically the
me,
entire southeast seaboard.
Yeah.
right. And then you consider the groundwater tables, right? So those are all following those same streamlines, right? So who's to say that someone's well in Louisiana isn't going to get fouled by this because of the way that, you know what I mean? Like you just got to follow water. So it, you know, it's all connected. It all feeds into the same thing. So people really need to be paying attention, you know, to where it goes. Yeah.
One of the things, I think I said it last week, it's the difference between conspiracy theory and fact is about 3 to 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're running on a fast scale here because we've gotten a lot of things proven in just a couple here too. So I know a lot more out.
Yeah. I think you guys should get a community group together and try to find some private investigators because
there are some things going on. I do know that there have been independent water testers out here. I don't want to name names because he said that, you know, he's gotten death threats and stuff before.
Wow.
So just, you know, to keep safety, but I have personally spoken to some of these water investigators. You know, they're, you know, scientists, physicists, people like that are out here that really know, you know, chemists, people that really know what they're talking about. And when you talk to them, you know that they know what they're talking about, you know. And so they're privately hired quietly to test our creeks and stuff like that. Yeah, Warren Buffett, I've heard that he's a big owner in that too. But
yeah.
As far as like, I have not heard a lot of soil testing being done. I think right now the main focus is water because that's what we're all bathing in, you know, to make sure that that's safe. And then the creeks, you know, that's a big deal. The woman that hired this investigator, you know, whatever you want to call him, lives on the creek. So she, you know, she's got a vested interest in what goes on. But the problem right now is funding, because a lot of these experts, you know, you're paying thousands of dollars a day for their investigations, and then you run the tests and stuff. Even well testing, I think, is over $3,000, and it takes 2 weeks to get the information back. And Norfolk and Southern is not paying for this. They are not. Yeah, the train is going right now.
That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah, it is. It is. The train is going right now.
They gotta keep making their money.
They got to make their money. They got to do it. I mean, the trains come through here about every 10 minutes now. It feels like they're faster and more than it, probably just because we're doing it more, you know.
They're probably trying to make up for the losses, so they're probably pushing it a little bit harder.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people that I've seen people jump when a train goes through. They don't blow their horns anymore, thank God, because
still do.
Do they? Well, I haven't heard them very often, but I've witnessed personally people break down into tears when they hear a fire truck. So if you want to say that we're not damaged, we are very damaged
Well,
right now. So
there's definitely psychological trauma, but it's accompanied by some pretty damn severe physical trauma
mhm.
that you guys have
Yeah.
had to deal with too. It's not just one specific issue with your body.
And the uncertainty of things too. And I've also noticed a thing too where it's I hate, this is one of like the side effects that I hate the most, right? So if nothing had ever happened, you were going about your normal day, right? And you had like say your cat ate some grass and puked or something. You know what I mean? Like just something normal. You don't think anything of it. Like, oh, dumb cat, like she ate some grass, let me clean that up, whatever. Now it's like, holy shit, do I need to go to the vet? Is she poisoned? Like, what's happened? Did she get into something? Does she, you know what I mean? And so there's like this heightened anxiety of everything that happens, no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hypervigilance. It's just like this unending. Today, my husband was looking at our dog's mouth, right? And he needs groomed. He hasn't been groomed since before that. He's a golden doodle. He's hair everywhere. So his facial hair is kind of growing into his mouth a little bit, not growing into, but like he gets it in his mouth. And so he's sitting there on the bed, kind of, and my husband's like freaking out, and he's like checking his mouth, and he's like, does his gums look swollen to you? Like, does this look like, and I'm like, what do you do? What do you do? Because you don't want to say, no, you're fine. Like, you're crazy. But that's like, it's like everything now. Everything is frightening. So
Someone steps on a stick and the sound of it reverberates and you're like, oh my God, here they all come.
there was a booming noise one time. I don't know what it was. It could have just been like someone shutting a semi-trailer door down or something like that.
Yeah.
And I instantly just, it's just like the reaction that your body, it's like not even your brain is right, it's just your body reacts to things, which I understand like in trauma situations that this stuff happens, but it's so out of the normal, and none of us know how to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, I think everyone that I know is in therapy now. All of the local therapists are so booked, they're just like all EP basically. So
it would be their wet dream if they could just get everyone on some SSRIs or
right,
Xanaxes and just have them drift off into we don't care now,
into complacent land, right?
Yeah,
that's fine. Drink the water.
Yeah, drink the Kool-Aid.
Drink, yeah. Well, what that you made out of the water, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So,
at least they could have done is add some sugar to it. God.
Oh yeah, we're just going full raw right now.
They got the colors, but they don't have the sweetness yet. So.
Well, no, don't you know they can't add the sugar because of the inflation? That would cost too much, fellas.
It's true.
That the mayor just posted an update, said that FEMA's not doing anything. So I think our mayor is starting to get fed up. I think he's starting to lose his cool, because I think he's really starting. He's a part-time mayor. You know what I mean? Like this is not this small town Ohio. This is mayor job is to like pat the prize sow on the butt once a month or once a year and just say yeehaw at the Apple Festival kind of thing. Like this is not.
Shake hands, kiss babies, and
they
watch
didn't
the
go
grass
to
grow.
Yeah, they didn't go to the Harvard School of Government or anything for the job he's doing. No, bless his heart.
That is.
It'd still be a useless degree, Front Porch.
Yeah, true, but I mean,
Well, guys, I'm getting wore out.
It's only been 3 hours. Come on.
Yeah. No. I'm just like I'm gonna have to tap out soon. Is there anything, Kat? Is there anything that you want to tell people or get out there?
Just honestly, like anyone that can, spread the word. Like that's it. Like just don't don't let them sweep us under the rug, because there's, the entire town is only less than 5,000 people. We can only do so much. So, we appreciate every single person that even shares a post, or, likes a TikTok, or, anything like that, just a comment.
Go to Senator Douglas Mastriano's page, find this Senate hearing and watch it.
That's a good point. Doug Mastriano on his page,
Senator, Pennsylvania Senator.
He's a Pennsylvania senator. They did a Senate meeting, like a committee meeting. And if you want some eye openers, watch the Senate committee, because that my friend here testified in front of it, and there is a lot of information that most people don't know in that hearing. So if anyone wants to get down that rabbit hole, there's a jumping point for you. So
Like 8 hours of it.
Can one of you have the link to that?
I will send it to him, or send it to Kat.
yeah, she's gonna send it to me. I'll send it via text to you, and you can get that out.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to send it, I'll go ahead and post it in the chat before we go.
Find it.
Sure. It's
Oh,
just
wait, 'cause some of these people love the rabbit holes.
Oh
So-
yeah, well, there you go. There's a good one for you. It'll take up some time for you. All right, I'm going to. It's probably going to cut my camera off here, but let me.
Should I do it?
No,
now?
it's fine.
No, you got it.
Tell him that they cut the live feed when we were discussing the fish.
Oh, they did.
Wow.
They censored us.
Yeah, so they're trying to make all these correlations between, what was it, mink lungs and these new viruses and how it could affect humans. But when cats and fish and raccoons and deer and every other form of wildlife in an area around people are falling over dead from some kind of chemical toxin or exposure. Oh no, it's all in your brain.
Yeah, it's psychosomatic. It's fine.
Yeah.
All of the dead fish and wildlife does not feel like it's all in our heads either. And definitely having, these giant, I don't even know what they're trying to do with the creek in front of our house, but there's huge spotlights, like the ones that you see at a football stadium right outside my window. Just going to town, and it's a constant noise. You just can't rest. So,
And you said they're running these the stuff into the creeks and rivers at night.
it's mostly at night when they aerate it, and what they said they're trying to do is they also dump like spores, like mold. It smells like mold, but it's not. It's like a fungi or something trying to like eat up these oil chemicals and stuff.
Mhm.
But that's all through your house. So you walk in your house after being out, and it just smells like your entire house is full of mildew and mold. It's not, but that those are the more of the new fun smells that you're getting. So it's unending. It's unending.
Yeah, I just pulled up something, and Cam, if you want to share my screen, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But yeah, it's all in everyone's mind. Yeah, somebody tell that to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources that is estimating 44,000 animals killed by East Palestine train derailment.
It's more than
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's
And
probably
that's probably
and
a little outdated. I
Yeah,
imagine it's a lot bigger.
Yeah, and I heard the lead in the background. It's probably more than that. But at least as of this reporting, 44,000 dead animals according to ODNR. Yeah.
And I just put the link for Mastriano's Facebook Live in the chat, so people can check that out. Kat, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story too.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Very, very eye-opening, and hopefully people share this and get this spread around. And I'm definitely going to be pushing it all weekend.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm still going to try to get some more people to see if they'll come, like if they'll let me interview them, come on and talk, just whatever, because
Yeah.
I think this needs to be hammered and hammered and hammered until something gets done for you guys.
My friend here said that she'll do it. She was one that testified in front of the Senate hearing
Okay.
and has been
Okay.
pushing things. So I'll get you in touch with her, and you
Yep.
can do that
That
too.
that would be awesome. Yes,
Yeah, I'll do it.
absolutely.
I'll do it.
Yeah, because she's got some other perspectives too on things, and definitely has a voice that's compelling too.
Yeah.
So she definitely is good, and she was closer to the derailment too. It's basically at the end of her road, just
Oh
right
wow.
there
Wow.
too. So she's got another perspective from that too.
And my family's on the Pennsylvania side.
Yeah, she's a native. She's from she's born and bred here, so
Yeah.
she's got that
Mm-mm-mm.
too.
Well, yeah, definitely. Tell her I look forward to talking to her, and she can come on. We'll talk about whatever she wants to talk about with this.
Sounds great.
All right. You guys got anything before Cat goes?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. Well,
This is
All
pretty
right.
heavy.
Thank
Cat,
you
thank you
guys
again. Thank
again.
you so much. You
All
guys be
right.
safe, and hopefully we can get you guys some more exposure, get you a little help up that way too.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Have a good night.
Ooh. That was a
Damn.
hell of
Damn.
yeah. For everyone watching, thanks for tuning in. The best thing you can do, you don't have to donate, you don't have to get a shirt, just share this stuff. Share this with people. Get this out there, because this needs to be blown up to epic proportions, because this is a fucking travesty that's happening on our soil to a small town that's looks like it's just going to be devastated, and it's going to be wiped off the map.
Yeah, if nothing's done about it, if nothing is said about it, it's like you said, they're just going to sweep this one under the rug. I
Yep.
mean, the irony in all this, I think the one sound that describes what corporate America and the government are doing in response to all this is the sound of that train in the background while we're talking to Cat.
Yep.
That not the sight, just the sound of it. That should give you an idea of what their plan is. We're just gonna keep right on going, boys. You hear that
Yep.
train going? That's us.
Their
Bye.
railroad's
See ya.
going to run, and you're going to
Yeah.
get railroaded.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh man. Well, guy, again, thanks for turning in. Like, just share this stuff. If you can hit up Cat's GoFundMe and help her out, give her a few bucks. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. If you want to get a shirt, that'd be awesome. If you just want to share it, though, that's the big thing. Like, get this out to people, and let's get some more spotlight put back where it needs to be.
Agreed.
Mr. Front Porch, thank you for coming on tonight, man.
No, gentlemen, thank you. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys on a Saturday night. This, I would normally say this was fun, and it, in one sense, it was, but this has just been amazing. Really, it has. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, hey, thanks for coming. Well, you're right there in the thick of it, just about. So you're
Yeah.
not too far downstream from what's going on, and
No.
Yeah, don't drink the water, man.
Yeah, really.
yeah, like now maybe you can raise some awareness for your area, saying, "Hey, check this shit out, because this is going to hit us
Oh
at
yeah.
some point. We just don't know when." And it's
Yeah.
not just a simple what's in the air, what's on the surface level of the water.
Well, and I think that's the most disingenuous thing that the government, either the state of Ohio or the federal government, did. Oh, we'll just do a controlled burn. And they're trying to say it without saying it. Oh, well, the controlled burn takes care of the problem. No, it doesn't. Oh, you
know?
may have gotten it out of the air, but you haven't gotten it out of the ground. You certainly haven't gotten out of the water.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you may have kept it from being as bad as it could have been. There's
True.
still a fucking mess.
I mean,
Oh,
next time maybe
absolutely.
we can talk about the preliminary NTSB report, because I think they, even though it's preliminary, it's even just the little that they say kind of just shoots their whole narrative in the foot.
Oh,
Honestly,
absolutely. Absolutely.
it really does. There's just no excuse for it. Like one problem tanker turned into 23 damaged tankers, including 11 that had hazardous chemicals, 5 of which had vinyl chloride, and that just doesn't compute at all. Like there, to me, at best, it was a botched attempt, and they're lying about it to cover it up. You know, it's just like they tried to do the right thing. They had one tanker that was the problem. They had to manually vent it.
And well, that's assuming that all of the sensors were faulty or malfunctioning and weren't sending temperature data to the conductor.
So it already shows that all 3 hot boxes within the 30 miles of the incident were active and gave readings. The problem is that it didn't give a critical reading until the 3rd one, is what I'm reading from it. And I see Voice of the People. He's going to go over it. People go check out his stream. He's apparently has some experience in hazmat response, so he obviously knows a lot more than I do. So yeah, he can correct anything that I'm saying that's just wrong. I get the theory of like when a controlled burn might be appropriate. I'm just not sold that it was here, or that at the very least, maybe it was. And I think at a minimum they've just botched it, if not worse.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Voice has been talking about that they made the mistake of not keeping the some of the other tankers cool enough, and that might have been what caused it to cascade, perhaps. But he can explain it on his channel. I won't steal his thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he goes. It was never cooled correctly. It was botched. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that.
But yeah, Voice, we'll get you on another time. I certainly would love to talk to you. You have a lot of expertise there. But yeah, I think we're just ready to tap out. It's been a long night.
Yeah. Again, thanks everybody who watched. Hit the like if you liked it. Leave comments. We'll get to you. And yeah, I think we're gonna flesh this out a little bit more, and maybe we can get this going somewhere so we can get these people a little bit of help. And yeah, Voice, if you can talk to Kat or people in the area, that'd be awesome too.
All right, he's actually DMing me. Flagrant, can you or if you just want to push me in DMs, Kat's contact info, he'd like to reach out to her.
Yep, I can do that. Not a problem at all.
He has some connections that can help blow this thing up further.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. See, this is it.
Yep.
I'll take that one little extra connection, and let's blow this shit out of the water. And
hell yeah.
Try to get these people a little bit of justice. Mr. Front Porch, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter. I am on Getter. I am on YouTube. Which, by the way, I'll go ahead and make an announcement now, which seems almost extraordinarily anticlimactic and inappropriate, but you asked. March 1st, my channel is officially up and running. I'm hoping to be posting videos on a much regular basis. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, all the places that you'd usually expect some eccentric fellow like me to be hanging out on social media. So come find me. Glad to have you on the porch.
Awesome. Crash, what's going on with you, man?
All right. First, I just want to shout out Plant-Based Libertarian. It's my buddy coming in here to support.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm on Twitter. Also, follow me on Twitch. I've been saying that I'm going to stream on Twitch gaming soon. Because I used to do it in 2021, and I've been missing it a bit. And I bought the Forbidden Wizard game, so I'm thinking that'll be my comeback stream there.
Bigots.
And then also, well, yeah, just follow me there first. We'll I'm thinking about getting a Rumble channel started too, because that seems to be where it's at for non-lefties, non-Marxist types. Twitch is full of at a minimum liberal, and they're not all bad, but they got anyway.
Yeah, I'm plugging Cat's GoFundMe again, and guys, if you like, you can always
It's
get this
phobios.
awesome, and these shirts are fucking comfortable too. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, this really is how these people feel about the response they've gotten so far. Like, they literally feel like they are just being told to fuck off. You're not important enough. So, yeah, again, if you want to give directly to Cat, that's fine. If you want to get a shirt, that's fine. The big thing I 100% believe is just sharing this and getting some more eyeballs on this situation and trying to help these people out some more. So,
Absolutely.
you guys were awesome. Front Porch, thank you again for coming on. Crash, good as always.
As always.
And
Always good to be here.
guys, we will catch you later next week. I'm sure we'll have something fun or interesting, or maybe it's going to be boring shit. Who knows? But Flagrant Triggers, you can find me on Twitter at Flagrant Trigger, and then the YouTube channel is Flagrant Triggers. And hit up flagranttriggers.com if you want some sweet threads. And thanks for watching. You guys have a good night.
Peace.